Welcome back to another episode of Spoiler Talk, where we talk spoilers. This week, we watched the first live-action Star Wars TV series, The Mandalorian Season 1. We're watching this because Season 2 is just about to air, so I thought it'd be a great time to revisit and kind of, discuss what we think of the first season of this show. And I don't know, I'll just pass it straight over to you, Kieran. What do you think of Mandalorian?
I think it's actually, hearing you say the first live-action Star Wars TV show, that is pure insanity that this universe that began in 1977 with all of the potential that came along with it, with this gigantic universe. The fact that this isn't a universe with 20 TV shows and 40 movies at this point is actually kind of surprising. This is a pretty good show.
That's like positive, but I feel like there's an undercurrent of not as positive as you want to be.
Yeah, so let me frame, I guess, with what my initial thoughts were back in, I believe, October of 2019 is when it first started airing, and it was coming out on Disney Plus, new streaming service week by week. And you're able to digest the episodes just one at a time and anticipate what's coming. And it was surprising. I thought it struck a very good tone, and it was doing things that really were spiking my interest. And I think watching it as a week by week serial, it might be the best way to do it.
Interesting. So you preferred week by week first watching it, then binging it. I mean, you told me before the pod a couple of days ago, you watched it all in one go this time.
So yeah, I thought what I've been doing, we've done a couple of TV shows, a few seasons of television over the past few weeks or months.
Mostly Doctor Who.
Yeah, mostly Doctor Who. But what I'll do is I'll try and watch a couple of episodes a day. Episode of Doctor Who's 40-50 minutes, like a normal episode of hour-long television. And this show is incredibly short. To put it in perspective, if you haven't seen the show, the longest episode is the last episode, which I think is 42 minutes long. There's 6 minutes of credits and a minute 30 recap. So where the episodes are the high 20 minutes to 30 something minutes long at the most, when you cut out all of the filler.
The previouslys and then the credits and stuff.
Yeah.
Although I will say the credits are pretty amazing, and I sit down and I enjoy watching like snippets of the episodes with like that beautiful painting kind of vibe they got.
I'll take it one step further and say that on occasion the pre-visualized credits are better than the episode.
Oh my god, you didn't like some of the episodes then.
I think that the advent of this new technology that they've developed for the show, which is essentially a 360-degree LED room, which is able to track with a cinema camera and give you the right sense of depth and parallax shift in the camera, and your background moves accordingly, and now all your lighting references are all done in camera. So it seems like a very front-heavy pre-production show, and then they are able to film it and put it together quite quickly because a lot of the heavy lifting's done before the shoot. But I think that this technology is really good at certain environments and not so great in, I would say, any kind of organic environment. Anything that requires complex movement. The farm episode is the one that sticks out to me the most. I really just did not buy the environment. I didn't buy it, like knowing that they had shot it all. Even the first time around, it just didn't.
Oh wait, do you mean the Seven Samurai epi?
Yeah. Just talking about the visuals, I'm specifically is that when you do a big desert scape or snow or certain environments look really good with this technology because essentially computers can render still flat objects like rocks and sand and snow and things like that extremely well, and can do reflections really well, and it can do even interior environments. All of the interiors are shot on this thing too.
Yeah, that blows my mind. I almost can't believe that.
But when it has to render an entire farm landscape and it's got moving trees and crops and things like that, I think that's where the illusion starts to break a bit. But that's really just more of a visual effects isn't up to that point yet, maybe more than this technology. So I don't want to get too sidelined on that. I just want to say that the show's very short. The thing is that like the farm episode, initially my thought was it could use another 10-20 minutes to really do what it was trying to do effectively, but now watching it again, if it was 10 or 20 minutes longer and just did the things better that it was trying to do, probably still wouldn't be as good as the things it's replicating anyway. So you know what, I don't even really care that it's 28 minutes.
No, see, yeah, I mean, just on that visual effect thing, because you were like, the new technology, it's the best except for one environment. And I'm like, I know what you're going to say. Then you said something different. I think this visual effect looks fucking incredible. Like, I don't know. I mean, the last time I watched it was on my computer. And I don't know. I've got a pretty good, nice computer. But a couple of months ago, I got a really nice TV. And I've been pretty excited to get back, and I've got some good headphones now. And just watching it again, my first thought was just, this is probably the second best show ever made visually, for me. At least just everything that, like, the first sequence on that ice planet, just, I remember being like, I remember some of it not fully working, like the effect. To me, this effect, I am astonished at what it's able to do. I can't believe some of it isn't real. So much of it, like that farm scene, I actually didn't mind that. It was the first time I watched it, I hated that epi. I was like, Seven Samurai, the training montage, boo. But this time I was like impressed. I thought it was actually a real environment they were there, because the visual effect episodes that don't work for me are the ones where you get, I don't know, some of the desert stuff. Like in episode 5, they're on speeders, and that desert, it's like working sometimes, and then sometimes I'm like, those speeders do not look like they're on. Like there's a big wide shot they do a few times from up above, like a bird's eye view, and it looks spectacular. And then there's a few other shots kind of on more ground level, and the speed is coming across the desert. I don't feel like it's up to scratch to, like, say, the snow epi or, I don't know, some of the other stuff.
Yeah, but I think with the technology, I think what you're pointing to there is when it cuts to almost an entirely visual effects shot.
Oh, no, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, but when they're just like, laying down on the sand in the desert, it looks like they're in the desert.
It fully does. It's really only a couple of shots. There's like one shot where IG-11 later in the season just goes across a few dunes and it just looks way off, but it's probably an entirely visual effects shot, sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting you thought the farm epi didn't look good. I actually, on a rewatch, that was the most... I was dreading that epi, like proper dreading it, because I remember finding it so lazy and so uninspired. But I don't know, not watching week by week, it's like, that's not all I get for this week. I watched all of it in 2 sittings. I watched the first 4, then the last 4. And it's, I don't know, like considering this wasn't going to be a thing if that Boba Fett film was made, I don't think. Like so much of this feels like they went, that Boba Fett fell apart for so many reasons. And in that, I can imagine them wanting to do a lot of the things, at least visually, that they did here. Like there's that scene where the door is getting blasted, then it drops, and IG-11, who is essentially just new IG-88, and Mando being Boba Fett, they're walking through, and it's like, that's the visual I can imagine them wanting to have put in the movie,
Yeah.
But getting this in the show, I don't know, that's my first thought is just, I don't know, rewatching it, I was like, this is a TV series about a bounty hunter, and then he gets like, but he's like rough and
with a
tough,
heart of gold.
But with a heart of gold, it's, yeah, sorry, I was going to say more words, but essentially, yeah, the bad guy with a heart of gold, and he gets the little innocence. It reminds me of like why I love War of the Planet of the Apes, where it's like a big, strong ape man who's going to kill and do bad, But then there's like a little girl and she's deaf, and like I'm just like the combination. It's everything. Logan, great example. I mean, actually, she's not really an innocent, but it's still that same kind of like difference in vibe. And I just think that, I don't know, like I really love that instead of like some 2-hour movie, we get this amazing show that kind of starts off with this kind of very simple story of him going to get like a target, that target turning out to be bloody baby Yoda, he having a change of heart, and then, I don't know, watching it all kind of very quickly, it does feel like kind of just a very, like a slightly more extended movie, but I really enjoyed getting it in bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
Like it felt really kind of like...
It really does feel much more like... It feels like a feature film that... Like maybe we just get the scenes that you would cut out of the feature film. Like some of the middle part is just... Yeah, a few episodes of the week. But even the farm episode is doing something... It's kind of giving the baby Yoda character a place to be safe for a bit, and the Mandalorian some perspective on where things are, and all the stuff they're doing that's like the central plot is working, I think, and that's kind of fine. And the fact that it's a very short episode trying to do a plot that we've seen a million times before, it's, you know, it doesn't really matter too much. Like, I don't even really want to fix the shortcoming elements, because I guess the central hook of the show and the central plot of the show is what I'm really invested in. And I think that relationship between the child and the Mandalorian and everything that it informs about his character is fundamentally working in the show. So I think that they put the right amount of effort into the right part, so that even the weaker episodes aren't quite as weak on a rewatch, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, I actually really liked every epi except for 4 on the first watch. I found 4... I actually remember I watched it before I came over to your house, back in the old days where we could hang out a year ago. And I remember coming to your house and being like, I fucking wish I hadn't watched this epi. It's put me in a foul mood all day. What a lazy Seven Samurai. It's almost like a joke, like a terrible parody of itself. Like, it just felt so clumsy and lazy. But rewatching it, I don't know, like the stuff that I remember being in it, there's like a montage that lasts like a minute. And I'm like, the Seven Samurai stuff part is like, where they're like, we can fight, there's like 20 of us, we're a little town, we'll do it. And I was like, oh, all cringe. But 2 minutes later, it's kind of all done, and you get creepy chicken walker thing, like with red eyes. And I don't know, all that stuff just, I don't know, visually, it really worked. And the one aspect of this episode that I really liked that I don't remember loving is the tough ex-rebel sharpshooter, or like
Shock Trooper.
Shock Trooper, that's it. Yeah, I really liked her. Like, I thought
Gina
she was
Carano?
like, okay, awesome.
She's
yeah,
a former MMA fighter, and
yes, I 100% like there's a second fight later in the season, and I'm like, oh man, she's definitely a fighter. This, like, because they've just keep putting her in situations where she's like on the ground, then she uses her legs, and suddenly she's on top and she's punching. And I'm like, this is fucking MAA shit. This is fucking
like
wild stuff.
Or,
Yeah, I don't know, just all that kind of wrestling stuff, and I thought that was really fun. I don't know, I liked all the side characters when you get to the point where he's like, I'm getting the team back together, and they're all like, you son of a bitch, I'm in. I don't know, I really like how kind of brief it is. Like, I feel like no one gets bogged down in anything.
Sorry, I was just going to say, we're going very roundabout again. So I didn't actually just ask you the question back that you asked me, and I don't even think I did a very effective job of answering it. So let me try and do it in a sentence, throw it back to you, and then we'll go episode by episode.
Love it, go.
It's very simple, but with the state of where Star Wars is, it's very refreshing, and it's a step in the right direction. And I think, really, Season 2 is going to confirm with me that this is the show that I actually think it is, or, oh no, this is actually, they're giving into the parts I really was worried about this show going. I think I'm at a bit of an impasse, whatever you call it. I'm at a fork in the road, and I think Season 2 is going to confirm my fears or my love of this show, and maybe I'm doing a bad job of articulating my thoughts in a sentence yet again. So maybe I just...
Well, more of a paragraph, but that's fine.
Yeah, no. Maybe I can't... I think too much about the show all at once. So I can't give my general thoughts. I don't really know what they are. Let's discover them over the course of this podcast. Jax, what did you think of The Mandalorian Season 1?
This show is the fucking best. Almost every aspect of this... I don't think I realized till this morning when I finished it. This is like a thing that actually exists, like that we can watch. It's a bounty hunter. It's a dude who tracks people and shoots them in the fucking face or carbonites them or whatever the fuck for money. But they somehow figured out, or just, I don't know, who the fuck came up with Baby Yoda? Baby Yoda's like, I don't know, man. This show to me is the breath of fresh air, the weird underbelly of the world. Like, there's so many aspects of this. There's what I've wanted for so long. And with Rise of Skywalker coming out, like, just after this, it's like, if this wasn't around, maybe Star Wars is terrible. Because Clone Wars Season 7 came out. That's the most embarrassing piece of shit. Save Game of Thrones Season 8. And what we were talking about before, Dexter Season 8. That's pretty bad too. Maybe all final seasons are terrible. But I've just been so down. I loved Clone Wars for the first 6 seasons. They released a new season a couple of years later. Botched the fuck out of it. First 2 arcs are almost unwatchable. Final arc, an embarrassment. Don't know why people like it. It's terrible. It does nothing. Star Wars Rebels is always kind of bad, except for like 2 minutes every episode, or like, you know, a good half episode here or there. This is very simple. This isn't trying to do much, but this also has a scene with like a bounty hunter trying to climb the Jawa thing. Like that Jawa... I fucking love this show. I love so much. I have some minor issues. I'm not keen. I'm very scared about Season 2 because of the casting rumors, but we'll get into that at the end.
Yeah.
Episode 1.
The Mandalorian. Directed by Dave Filoni. He directed 2 episodes, written by Jon Favreau. This is a good first episode that really every time I watch it delivers so many promises of what we wanted of bounty hunters and what was promised to us way back in Empire Strikes Back on the bridge with Darth Vader.
The bridge and I've just got to say, that bridge scene to me has always been a moment of holy fuck. But I feel like everyone's always got like a story of like, I had this toy and I like this character for no reason but that toy. I had 3 Star Wars toys. 2 of them were Bosk. The same Bosk figurine. And I always fucking love that. I love monsters. I love creatures. My favorite part of Star Wars is like, this first character, that blue guy that appears in this first episode, I'm not going to mention it for very long, but in Doctor Who Season 10, you're always like, I love how there's an alien. Because he looks like a human, I'm never fully sold on just being an alien. And I love how this episode starts and there's just a blue alien guy and he's just with him. And that's what I love about Star Wars. There's so many robots and aliens and creatures and just weird shit going on. I really like Bosk. He's bloody better fucking appear. But sorry, go on.
Well, I mean, the opening does it does a lot in a very short amount of time. So it establishes our lead character. We get a little mission for him to go on. We learn about his universe, his ship. If you like the place, you like the show. And we spend a lot of time on the Razor Crest, and we get a pretty good kind of layout. It's a very small ship. It's very simple in design. It's like top part where the Mandalorian is, and there's like a bottom part with a big platform out the back. There's a toilet. We finally get an answer for a question that people have been asking since 1977. Where do people go to the toilet in Star Wars?
What? Is that a question? They just have toilets in rooms you don't see. Right?
Well, now we've seen one. Finally, it took for 1977 to 2019 for us to see a toilet in Star Wars.
Does that mean that's the first confirmation that there are butts and assholes? Like,
Yeah,
full confirmation? Or
Well, they're all aliens, you know, in Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know.
Even
yeah.
the humanoids they're born on different planets. So
That's so funny you say that. I don't even remember there being a toilet on the ship, or like even seeing it.
Well, he says he needs to go and empty his whatever, some alien reference, which obviously just means going to the toilet. And then he goes down the little ramp, and then there's a toilet there, and his gun rack, and then... Now, here's where... Let's just get into maybe a recurring element. Let's talk about, like, the carbonite. If you look at it in the context of the Star Wars universe, it does kind of feel like him having a bunch of carbonite things is just like, oh, do you only have a surface level knowledge of what occurred in Empire Strikes Back? Like, did you not pay attention to what they're saying in that movie? Because this is only 5 years after that. And they make a real point in that movie of saying this is crude technology, shouldn't be used for humans.
The only reason they do it on bloody Han Solo is because they're like, we got to test it, make sure this isn't like...
Yeah, because we need to use it for Luke. That's
and we can't kill Luke. Like, otherwise we just, kill Luke. We don't want to kill him, so we need to test it. It's like...
And Vader says to Boba Fett, look, if he's worth more to me alive. And he's like, oh, all right, look, if we kill him, then the Empire will reimburse you. It's all good, bro. So it's like a very clear point that this is...
No, this feels like the remnant of the Boba Fett script, where they're like, Boba Fett did Carbonite, Boba Fett, Empire.
The Josh Trank film that never happened.
Yeah, it feels like maybe something there where they were using it, and it definitely feels like that first epi kind of thing of being like, hey, Star Wars.
You know Carbonite.
Yeah, exactly. Like, remember when Boba Fett appeared and he had Han Solo and Carbonite? Now this guy is also like, because he's got the, it's obviously the Boba Fett lookalike. I love that it's not Fett. I love that it's a character we get to learn and stuff and all that. But that does feel like one of those elements in the first episode where it's very much like, oh yeah, is Star Wars as big as it should be and feels like? Like, is it kind of a simpler universe than we want? Whereas I feel like the rest of the season kind of, I mean, at least for me, utilizes things that we're aware of and stuff, but kind of in fun, new, different ways. Like, for instance, having IG-88, but it's IG-11, I thought is so much fun. The bits where we see IG-11 kind of like spin about and move in that kind of weird dissected robot way. Why not
just make it IG-88?
Oh, I think it's fun to just... It should be new. I think it... Because IG are just units of robot. It's like this.
So it's just another. Yeah, that's fine.
Well, there's probably IG 722. So there's a bunch of them. And does this mean that's the 11th one? I don't know. I don't know what how that works. But I like that it's new and different.
But it's not. It's Boba Fett and IG-88.
Well, exactly.
With a different skin.
But I don't want them to have to tie it into anything that they do exist in. It's fun that this guy appears. He's a robot. Boba Fett oh god.
He is Boba Fett. His parents died in the Clone Wars. He joined the Mandalorians. It's the same character. It's all the same beats are there. It's just slightly tweaked because they're like, let's make this its own thing.
You know what the main aspect that I like that's different? It's that because Boba Fett was someone who's stolen or whatever the Mandalorian armor, he's not a Mandalorian, and that's like a whole thing.
Oh, okay.
No. Yeah, no, he's stolen that shit. Like, he's like just taken that shit. As far as I'm aware. I could be wrong. But I think I'm pretty sure I'm right. Because in this, he's a Mandalorian. And like, he's like I don't know, it's like, so he's part of that kind of, what does he call it? It's a creed. Or
yeah.
One of the episodes. So good. And I you know
but
what?
Then Boba Fett is like, why? Yeah, I mean, I guess we just never see him hanging out with Mandalorians in the movies. But yeah, why wear the helmet and all the garb and shit?
No, I think I could be, it could be someone's random fucking tweet.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter. The idea that whether he is or isn't, I mean, it's just the same outfit.
What I think it was, though, was that there was Boba Fett from the original movie, and then the Mandalorians were created, and they're like, what if it was a race of Boba Fetts? They've all got jetpacks. It's like, okay. But I could be so wrong with that as well. That's kind of what it feels like to me. The Mandalorians play a huge role in the Clone Wars. most of it's pretty great because it's to do with great characters. It's like some of the better stuff, but some of it's cringe. Like in Star Wars Rebels, it's no good.
All I was saying there was like, you're like, Boba Fett's not a Mandalorian, they just stole the armor. I'm like, but like, if you just watch the movies, he could just be a Mandalorian. We just never see him go back to the guild or the sect, the crew of other... They just don't show that in the movies, because why would you? We just see a Mandalorian kind of working, doing what the Mandalorian does in this show, but because this show's centered on him, of course we got to go back to the lair,
Yeah.
But to me, it was like, it felt like they're just fleshing out elements of this character that we kind of vaguely know from the movies, and wears this very unique armor that his dad also wore, and there's other tidbits in other shows, and I kind of like that we get that it is a sect and there is like an ethic to it, and that the characters...
This is the way.
Yeah.
That's so good. That like whole thing, I feel like, I don't know, like rewatching it, just like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I just see something and I'm like, I can't believe they managed to like create something that works, where like, I'll see a meme now and they're like, this is the way. And I'm like, it's like It Is Known in Game of Thrones, which is something it just like a little phrase, a thing works. Like that, and the whole Mandalorian thing. The
foundling idea.
Yes, and then that coming into play with Baby Yoda. Yes, the way that building the armor and he goes off on a mission, comes back and like, oh, I don't know. I really like the lore of the Mandalorians. Everything about it. I'm not the biggest fan of the horns on the female armorer queen or whatever she is.
That's an element that if you look at the concept art, that costume looks way better in concept than they actually execute. No, in the show. Look at the show. They show the concept art in every episode. No. Yeah, you saw it already.
Oh, but do you think it looked... I don't remember thinking it looked that much better.
Yeah, it does. I think it does. I think...
No,
yeah,
I binged all of it. I'd have to relook at that stuff. Just because I remember just in the finale when it just appears, those little horns, I just remember being like, yeah, I don't know. I just think the simplicity of the Boba Fett one, or Mando's one now, let's stop saying Boba Fett, but it just, I don't know, he looks so fucking good. And I don't know, there's like a fun element of all the Mandalorians, but also part of me feels like it's a bit silly, where it's like, and this one's got horns, and this one's big, and this one's got a big gun, and this one's all in red, and it just, I don't know. You've got to differentiate them though, for sure. But because without fleshing them out, it's like, he just feels so much more like, I don't know, simple and,
Where we start with the Mandalorian, and the Mandalorians as the institution that they are, seems like it has changed quite a lot over the history of the Star Wars universe. And like, even when we get the flashback of him getting rescued by the Mandalorians, they're all wearing kind of uniform blue outfits.
Yeah. I love that.
But
I
now,
really like their costume, yeah.
Flashing forward all this far, much further in the future, it seems like, they're living underground. They're kind of in hiding. They only go out one at a time. They've got, it looks like they've reined themselves in a lot more, because the universe is a little, it's what the Wild West. And maybe they don't have the power that they once did. And I like that there's been a kind of evolution. And even with you just saying, oh, it's kind of silly, there's like a different one. Kind of like that there was a point in time where they all had a blue uniform. And now at this point, they've all got kind of different jobs that they do. And they might all do different work. One of them's got a big minigun. And,
I love that guy.
Yeah, there's like, you get the heavy Mandalorian for this job, or send this guy out for the bounty hunting, or I don't know.
Oh, yeah, no. When you say it like that, where they've all kind of, whatever skill set, now they don't have to be uniform, they kind of adapt their armor and upgrade it to be more specific to their jobs and their, like, I don't know, skill sets.
And the armor...
Oh, that's a good point.
The armor is a demonstration of their ability in a weird way, that, like, it's a real kind of success when he comes back with all that Beskar, and it's earned because he just gets one plate, and you see how big a deal that is. And what does she say? This will something many foundlings, and it's like, oh wow, you brought some of this back. We haven't had this stuff since the Empire took it all off us, and just It feels like this is what I love about Star Wars, is like jumping into the middle of something and like a pre-established, you know, if you're a fan of the Clone Wars, there's probably a whole bunch of history there, but this is a new point for the Mandalorians, and they're different than what they were there.
Oh yeah, no, because there's the Mandalorians that she mentions in the finale about like, we fought the Jedi long ago. And there's that stuff.
That's from the trailer, which I did. So there's a trailer for season 2 where she says a race of enemy sorcerers.
Oh, they call them sorcerers. I was like, oh my god.
But that's at the end of this season, which I'd completely forgotten, and they use all of that voiceover for the season 2 trailer. So it's
I haven't properly watched it. Yeah, I've watched like a little 20-second one, but I didn't. Because I'm afraid they're going to show clips of some of the stuff I've potentially heard. And I'm just
they don't show any of what you've heard about, which is
super
surprising.
exciting. Yeah. I mean, they don't need to. They just need to show him and bloody Baby Yoda. I'll be like, more of the same? Yes,
That's
please.
Exactly what they do. Yeah.
Yeah. The restraint, the fucking restraint on Baby Yoda and just the marketing beforehand, but just also in the season. Like, not in as much as I remember, in a great way. Like, he's just, every time he appears, brilliant, but also not overused. Doesn't feel like he's put in to be cute, even though sometimes that is the point. It just feels very...
I just wanted to say the Baby Yoda concept is actually one of the main differentiating factors, I think, that is able to set the Star Wars universe apart, in that it's doing something that the films also did. And I learnt this watching behind the scenes material for The Force Awakens. And J.J. Abrams said that a piece of advice that George Lucas gave to him, I'm pretty sure I'm getting everyone correct here, but it was, George Lucas said, whatever scene you're doing, just make sure you get a cutaway of the droid. Get a cutaway of the you know, the character that doesn't actually have any dialogue, but that way, no matter what scene you're putting together, you can always do whatever you need to do to keep the pace up. And it's one of the parts of Star Wars that at any point in time, if the scene's not working, you can cut to Chewbacca, you can cut to a droid, you can cut to a character that doesn't actually have to say anything, that will kind of just give you a reaction of what's going on, give you something. And it is one of the main reasons that the Star Wars movies work as well as they do, because you have these side characters that are filled with so much life, and there's so much creativity behind them, and there's so much thought given to getting their personality. Like R2D2 has so much personality. Never says a word in any of the films. Just beats and
yeah.
And Baby Yoda is the natural extension of that. You know, just this little puppet character. You get all of the little parts of his character that make you love him, and they build the relationship with the Mandalorian, and it gives you in any scene just a cutaway shot so that everything flows. And I think that's why, for me, the first episode might be the one that flows the least cohesively. It might also be because this is the first live action thing that Dave Filoni's ever directed. I would say that the first episode is kind of noticeably a little wonky in the directing department at times, and the shots feel a bit flat. You know what I mean? I think like really where I noticed it was the big climactic battle getting Baby Yoda. And what you'll see is whenever it cuts to a VFX shot of like IG-11 spinning around doing crazy shit, it's directed with like such vision and vigor, and it's kind of wonderful to look at. And then we cut back into the live action and it's stale and flat and boring again. And I'm just like, this is an animator working in live action for the first time. He's really good at animating shit, and he's really good at doing those big wonderful sequences of spinning around and stuff. But then as soon as he just has to shoot two people in a frame, it all kind of doesn't work as well.
Yeah, it feels a bit just like, this is Star Wars. This should you look better?
There's no vision behind the direction at times, but then there is vision behind the direction. Like I said, when IG-11 is spinning around, shooting people off rooftops, and his arms are kind of clicking around, and all of that is animation. You know, the camera's animated, the character's animated, the environment's animated, everything's animated. And that's, you know, the natural progression going from 7 seasons of the Clone Wars and into this, you know. Maybe that's where he shines a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I think in the first episode, I was more forgiving this time just because I had all the context of the show, kind of enjoying just seeing where it started again. But the first time I was like, oh, like the scene that stood out to me the first time was when the Mandalorian meets the Queen Armorer Mandalorian lady girl. I don't remember her name or anything, but she's like giving him his armor, and it like cuts to flashbacks real quick, and it just keeps cutting from his face back and forth, and I just remember being like, oh, this is so messy, and just, I don't know, just this whole thing doesn't feel like he kind of figured out how to film the mask and get the emotion out of a emotionless mask, because from that point, I think that every episode does a really great job. Even the episode he does later of that mask is... I'm getting so much from that goddamn mask, like so much emotion, and it's all just in those little movements, but I think it's also how you frame it and how you kind of connect it with everything else.
Yeah, and I think there's a very clear standout best director. And we'll get to that a little later. But
yeah, I'm interested to see, because I didn't remember to look at who actually directed each epi.
I think you'll agree with me too. When I point it out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really interested to hear. The other thing that I thought was one of the just something about, like, I know it's essentially just being remember that, but different. It's like, but seeing stormtroopers, but like ex-stormtroopers, and like their armor's just fucked and stuff. I remember seeing that the first time, and I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And they're like, there's 4 against 1. I like them odds. I'm like, oh my god, it's the most Western thing, but it's Boba Fett and they're all stormtroopers instead of dirty hillbillies in like a tavern bar and like a Western. They're like dirty stormtrooper armor. It just, I don't know, man. Like, just visually, it's like, this is quite light with the story and stuff, but I think that it's a great starting point where maybe this...
You just saying that, then the opening Western in the bar scene, I think that's when I should have fallen in love with the show, but it isn't. It's not until I think the end of the episode with the IG.
Interesting, yeah.
That scene should be the scene that makes me fall in love, but it's not. I'm worried. This isn't shot very well. It's too dark. This should be the most iconic scene in Star Wars history. The Mandalorian walking into a bar, getting a target. But all of the performances are average to bad. I don't like what anyone's doing. I don't like the blue guy. I don't like the big tough guy. I don't know. It's just none of it's working.
Yeah, I remember the first time I was like, if this blue guy is a main character, I will neck myself. I was so scared. I guess rewatching it, knowing he's in for 10 seconds, I was just so much more in, because I was just like, Mando. I'm watching for Mando's stuff. I was also, I love that opening, just where he walks in that snow at the start, and I guess I'm just kind of, I'm in just because there's this video game where you start with Boba Fett. He's got no armor. No, he's got his armor, sorry, but he's got no jetpack or guns or anything. And you've just got you're in like a cage, like a gladiator kind of, but Star Wars style kind of cage. And you're fighting a big beast, and it's the beast. No, but it is something from a thing. The second movie, Anakin fights like the bull thing.
Oh yeah, with the horn.
Yeah, so it's that thing. I'm pretty sure, or something very similar to that. And like the Boba Fett just fights him, and then you get out and you're running through a thing and you get a gun, and the game starts. And I just remember I never got far in the game because I think my friend had, and I'm terrible at games. But just that always excited me. It's like, oh, just imagine Boba Fett just running around, punching monsters, shooting things, and doing stuff. And I don't know, like, I'm gonna do you want to just jump to Epi 2? Because it's gonna lead into what I was just saying. But
yeah, sure.
you finished. We can finish thoughts of Epi 1 first.
Yeah, I'll just say I like the Navarro kind of planet, and that's where the Imperial base is. You just give props to all of the interiors in the show, like they're all 100% CGI, and
that doesn't make sense to me. Like, that truly baffles me. They've really nailed that stuff. It looks so good.
Just the right amount of on set. I think the interiors really, like, that's what stood out to me more on second watch, was like everyone when they talk about the Mandalorian is like showing shots of the big desert scapes and stuff like that, and it all does look really fantastic for the most part, but just getting a big room with 4 stormtroopers and who's the guy with the really unique voice? What's his name? He's a director.
Like, I don't know. He's got a name where I feel like I'm gonna say it wrong. It's like
Werner Herzog.
Yeah, I was like, I was gonna say it's Werner Warthog or something, and I'm like, I know it's wrong, but I'm so close.
Yeah, Werner Herzog, but I think he pronounced the W as a V.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It's Bounty hunting is a dangerous profession. That's terrible, but he's fantastic. Yeah, he's. I don't know. You get someone like him for a couple of starter scenes, but I mean, even just, I think maybe his voice and acting carries something that's maybe not even fully there. Although I do love the idea that the Empire, or ex-Empire cunts are like, we need to get this baby Yoda. He's got the Force. He's magic, and like, whatever horrific nefarious purposes they have never get like.
Is it to take it to the Emperor? I get, because the canon now is the Emperor's out there on Exegol. You know, was that the intention? I don't know.
I've just stopped recording my podcast. I'm going to leave and hang myself. No, that's not what's implied. This. Oh my god! You know what's so fucking fucked? I was about to say this show hopefully will just disregard Rise, but they even put a healing scene in for the epi that played just before the movie, so people had like some breathing room of that like huge plot kind of development. I don't know. I don't even want to think about the fact that it has something to do with the Emperor. I love the idea that Gus Fring is just a dude he's the top of whatever he's a part of now. You know, like there's
Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon, great goddamn name.
Yeah.
And I think that he's fantastic. So great to see bloody Gus and something else. But I really like the idea that these ex-Empire people aren't like still Empire. It's like, no, they're ex-Empire and they've still got all the armor and the gear and shit, but that's because they didn't explode and they would have still had that in their possession even when things crumbled.
But they're fragmented in the Outer Rim. They have to hide out the same way the Mandalorians do.
Yeah, but then they do kind of have like some pretty sweet gear left over from the Empire.
If you fuck with them, they'll bite. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, there's a lot to be explained, like with the Darksabers and all that stuff.
I just love that the Empire is a gang now. Like they're just they're an outlaw gang of just they've got this technology, this leftover tech from the Empire, still following the kind of structure of it and probably still trying to resurrect it. And I do, I'm all for it. You got to remember that The Mandalorian was produced and constructed and written while Rise of Skywalker was. So there was probably quite a lot of overlap between, figuring out the story beats and elements and what would be introduced where. And because the second episode with Baby Yoda tries to force heal him. Yeah, I noticed this time, which I didn't notice the first time. So it actually, they actually nod it. They hint at it way before the movie came out, and then it was a month later when the movie came out with that episode, and it's like, oh, force healing's a thing now. We got it in 2 pieces of Star Wars entertainment in the same week, but they put it all together a year before.
I love that. Yeah, no. So there's definitely some tying in of stuff. Let's just hope not too much. I do love Baby Yoda's like that exact scene you're talking about in episode 2 where he's waddling over to him and he's like, what are you fucking doing? He picks him up, puts him back, and he just cuts back, he's waddling back over. I just remember the first I've seen that being like, oh my god, he's gonna be magic. He's gonna be magic. It's so exciting. I
like that. I also like the other little like central story arc of the Mandalorian being kind of traumatized by droids in the Clone Wars and having a real contempt for droids of any kind. And
I love his racist droid attitude. It's so funny. Everyone, like, someone will just meet him, they're like, haha, still hate droids, eh, Mando?
And we know this is a pre-established thing from the first Star Wars movie when they walked into the cantina and the guy's like, we don't serve droids here, get out.
Yeah, and that fucked thing of like, that arc is actually kind of stunning where like the first episode, a droid is going to shoot Baby Yoda and then he shoots that droid in the fucking face. And then, like, by the end of the season, he's like, I'm not sad.
Oh.
And he's like, I am a robot. I read your analytics of your voice. You are sad, bitch. And he's like, no. There's a girl here, don't say that.
One more thing to mention from the first episode, and then we'll move on, is the character of Quill, who's another fantastic addition to the series, voiced by Nick Nolte. Yeah.
For a second, I was like, who the fuck's Quill? And I'm like, oh, the only other character that it can be. The Ugnaught. I love the goddamn visual of that shit. He looks great. I don't know.
Great look coupled with a unique performance. Something really new. Character you really like get attached to very quickly. Understand their central philosophy. Like, just, I think, one of the standouts of the season. And then has a really kind of gut punch, bold move at the end. At the end of episode 7. I didn't really like
that. It makes me kind of like, oh.
Because it works so well, that's why. They did their job perfectly. They set this character up for a fall, I think that's kind of one of the standout parts of the season for me. Anyway, we'll get to it later. But let's move on to episode 2.
So can I start off this epi?
Sure.
Because I just want to say, I thought it's hard to say because the last epi is very, very good. But I think this is almost easily my favorite. Like, it was the first time, and rewatching it, I almost can't. Like, I've just not wanted to rewatch because sometimes when I love something, I'm like, I don't even know if it's that good. It just worked on every level. This episode to me, having rewatched it now, 100%. This is everything I want from anything that's on screen. I want to feel emotion, have stories, and adventure and excitement. But I also just want to have a man in the mud fighting a big old monster, and then a little baby saves him with magic powers. And he's like, what the fuck? Then the fucking rhino falls to the ground, the rhino's about to kill him. He's like, oh, Jesus! And stab! Like, that scene where he's mud fighting the big mud horn is the greatest scene in anything. I can't even put into words how much it brings me joy to have him, like, walk into that cave, be looking around, can't see anything. Eye opens, cut to the outside, just gunshots, and then he just come flying out, and the thing just keeps whacking him, and he's flame throwing, he's shooting the thing, and it's just so much stuff. And that's the first time that Baby Yoda shows that he's got bloody force powers, which is just opens up so many things of being like, does all of Yoda's race have the force? Is it like, just how sentient
That's
is this?
Another little niggling thing that, like the carbonite machine, it's another thing that makes me worried that.
So you don't like the idea that this species is particularly powerful in the Force, potentially, but only potentially. We've really only got proof that
there are lots of humans that can use the Force. Like, statistically, it seems like more humans use it than any other species. So there's nothing wrong with saying a species is more attuned or whatever, and there's nothing wrong with multiple members of a species. It's just that Yoda is direct connection with the Force from Empire Strikes Back, and then doing that again and making it a baby and making. Yeah, the 50-year-old.
I don't know. It got me so good because he's like, the only thing you can tell me is the age. He's like, it's 50 years old. Seeing the baby then and seeing that it's a baby Yoda and immediately Googling it and everyone's like, it's baby Yoda. I'm like, I love that everyone's totally cool with being like, it's baby Yoda, even though it's not Yoda. It's just, I don't know, is it even a baby? It's like, it's all relative, but that name is so fucking good. I'm looking at my cup with my coffee in it now with baby Yoda. I bought it at work and I'm just like, God damn. It's such an ingenious design. But I think it's the biggest element that works 100% well in this season and that might be botched depending on how they've dealt with fan reaction. I hope there's some restraint. I actually have bigger issues with the other 2 issues I have with potential season 2. But then again, I don't know. They could all work out. It could all really work out. But this episode in particular, I fucking loved. It's like Jawa epi. It's like he climbs up the big Jawa thing and he's
Oh
trying
my
to get in,
God,
and they're all just
fantastic.
throwing shit, and he's just like, fucking get out of here,
He's
Jawas.
tossing
He's
them out and
tossing them
incinerating
to die.
them.
When he's like, oh, you really, when they go have the negotiation, he's like, man, these Jawas fucking hate you. He's like, oh, well, I killed like 20 of them or whatever. And he's like, what? I was like, Nick Nolte should be more like, what the fuck? Maybe we can't negotiate then. How many did you kill? So many. They just disintegrated. Like, I love every single aspect of every second of the Jawas. My favorite moment in the whole episode though, is when he finally brings back this egg. And the Jawas are all around him. And before, because they're like, and then they're like, egg. And then they open he just cuts it open and just starts chowing down on this honey goo shit. And then the best part of the episode is just Boba Fett's like, shakes his head. He's just like, oh my God, these fucking Jawas. His reaction to the Jawas and how much I read off this faceless mask, night mask, as he shakes his head, I laughed for like the rest of the night. It's to me, I've not rewatched this season, but I was so surprised by how much I remembered. I actually was like, oh, I'll have forgotten like 20%. No, it's 20% shorter than I remember. I remember it all because it's fucking incredible stuff. Like just the way that like, I don't know, he deals with the Jawas and then this guy's like, fuck man, I know what's going on. We'll trade. He's like, trade with them. He's like, we'll trade. Like they're just, guys, like they don't, I don't know. I love the way they kind of fleshed out these characters that we get quite a lot of in the original movie, but I don't know. I think seeing them in this light, we get the same for the Sand People later. It's such a breath of fresh air where I feel like this is reincorporation and reusing things and kind of showing us a side of the world, but seeing it from like a bounty hunter's perspective. Like Luke sees the Jawas from one perspective, but this fucking cunt's climbing up that goddamn ship and I don't know, all of that stuff I found just immensely satisfying. And some of the standout stuff is all in this epi for me. Like the start of the fucking episode where he's like walking with Baby Yoda and we just get those beautiful Western shots of just sunset.
Oh, yeah.
So all that desert stuff looks perfect. I can't believe that's fake. It's later with the speeders that I think the desert stuff doesn't work for me. But that opening scene where he's walking and Baby Yoda's in the little floater carrier, it looks like a space carrier thing, and they're just, it's the greatest thing in the world. It's beautiful and it's stunning.
That image is the show. Yeah,
it's the best parts, and yeah, it's so good. But then, like, even just the way that he stops, like you've got all the little lizards following Baby Yoda, like, oh look, following the baby, and then suddenly whoosh, all gone, and then you're just focusing on his head. And if you take a sip of a coffee or like sneeze or whatever, you fucking miss it. But bloody across the reflection of his chrome helmet, you see him jumping across. That was the moment I remember being like, because I remember the first episode, I'm like, as you said, that first scene, I feel like I'm better on it now because it's a rewatch and you know what it is.
You can't do that shot without this technology too.
Right, okay, yeah, because that shot to me was the first time that I went, oh, they're filming. Like, this is cinema. They're not just, it's not just what it needs to be. That's like inspired, like an idea like that. Just that little idea, I was just so in, and then he's punching, fighting, shooting. He has to fucking do the thing and the I don't know. It's just, I loved all that stuff. This episode to me is 10 out of 10.
This episode, episode 2 and episode 6 were directed by Rick Famuyiwa, I believe how you pronounce it.
Okay.
So I don't know how you felt. Yeah, I agree. I think this is a really standout episode. I don't know that it's my favorite, but it's up there for sure.
Is this isn't the director though, or is it the director?
It's not, but So I guess
I'm very excited.
I suppose we don't agree because I like the Prisoner episode, but
I don't think that one's a standout visual. I did very much. We'll get to it.
For sure. I don't think there's much else to say. Episode 2 feels pretty short, succinct, and it's very kind of about, that central premise. I gotta say, it made me so angry when they ripped his ship apart. I hate when that happens in a show. His ship just is endlessly destroyed throughout this whole season. And,
what about that? Do you mean just you were like angry for him, or you didn't
Yes,
like it as a
they stripped it to a skeleton. I'm like, that surely will never fly again. But it's the Star Wars universe, so it doesn't really matter.
I really liked that they fuck his ship up, and then he just goes and shoots a bunch of them, and they disintegrate, and then he gives them an egg, and they're all happy, and he leaves. I just love the simplicity of like, fuck, how much does this shit happen with these goddamn Jawa cunts running about, stealing shit, having to make deals and eating their stupid yolk? I don't know. Everything about it was like, it's you know what the Jawas eating the yolk is though? For me, it's like that thing of like, this is the world. This is a real world. It reminds me of the bit where Luke gets the milk out of the sea, the sea seal fucking Lapras tit thing in that movie. That's the best part of that movie, and everyone that thinks that scene's bad is dangerously wrong. Well, no, I don't know. There's just something about him like fishing and drinking milk. It's like, okay, that's how he lives, and I love that instead of cows and shit, there was all this weird fucking shit. Also,
well, you just have to I love it because it shows that you actually just have to adapt in this universe to the planet that you go to, and whatever food's available is what you're gonna fish, and you're gonna drink that milk because that's all you got.
Fuck yeah, that's a better way of saying what I was trying to say.
Yeah, it makes the universe feel more lived in. It's like Yoda cooking a stew in Empire. It's the same, you're just showing how he lives.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. That just like, yeah. The last thing, just before we jump to Epi 3, back to Epi 1, there's a thing where they're like, watch out for the ice, maybe monsters. And then a giant fucking, like, serpent thing arises out of the, like, ocean. I think that for me was like, I don't know, it's crazy. What I love is that, because it's just episodes, I don't know, I feel like you can just have more of like, and then that just happens, and then it's gone, and it's done. There's one later in the season as well where they do that, where they're just like, dangerous monster, bam! And then it's just gone, and it's almost not even a moment, it's like a minute, but I love how much this show is able to kind of play with all these creatures, and every single one just looks so good. I don't know, I'm kind of blown away by how great they've made it look, even though I know it's got Star Wars money, so it's like, it should look good. I don't know, I'm still very impressed by how good it does look.
Yeah. All right, episode 3, The Sin.
Rescue the baby.
Directed by Deborah Chow, who also directs episode 7. I think she's my favorite director of the season. Now, let me qualify that by saying that I actually think Taika Waititi with episode 8 might edge her out if we're just doing episode versus episode, but she gets 2 really, really great episodes, I think.
He gets the final epi. It's almost unfair. He gets everyone's resolutions and the big epic bits and
he does a great job with it. Don't get me wrong.
No. It's stunning.
Yeah,
it is. But
it's really handled very well. And maybe he is the best director of the season. But I think what she does with 3 and then 7 leading into 8, like she's
both are great epis.
Absolutely, yeah. I really like what she's doing. And Deborah Chow, I believe, is exclusively directing the new Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show.
Yes! No! I completely forgotten about this. But I when I first watched the show, I definitely was aware of this. I'd completely forgotten the rewatch. But that is really exciting. That's like... I mean, if they picked anyone except for Dave Filoni, I'd probably be pretty keen. Actually, Taika Waititi would almost make me scared. I'd be like, oh. His tone is one way, but...
Yeah, it might become too much. Yeah, but he didn't do that in this, so...
No, they gave him one scene where they're like, 2 stormtroopers will shit talk and then punch a baby. And then he got that scene, and that's it. And that's the best... Oh, I keep saying that's the best scene. This podcast is nothing if not me saying this is the best thing ever. And then immediately contradicting it with my next comment. But that is probably the best scene. Like, I was like... Oh my God, how could you punch a baby? I was so... I've never hated people I've laughed along with before, like so much. It's very Game of Thronesy with that kind of... It was perverse. Back to 3 though.
The sin. That is what this episode is. It's the sin. He gives the child away, but he gets literally the pot of gold that we know that him and his people, the creed of the Mandalorians, putting things back in their rightful place.
That was good. That was good.
I think that was not what he said, but it's something like that.
But the voice is good enough that you're like, yeah, he said that. He said that.
He gets the 20 bars of Beskar steel and he takes it back and he gets the new armor, and there's such like, it's the most bittersweet, just like gut-wrenching, but it's so cool that he's in it, but he doesn't have the kid anymore, and the child plays with the little ball, and then he looks at it later on, and there's so many little moments like that just make you want to cry. But I really like just how this episode is shot and handled, and I think to what you were saying earlier, the little moments we get, the little nods and the little subtleties from Pedro Pascal's performance through the suit. I think, really this episode is maybe the best of that stuff altogether. Maybe the moment he gets in the second episode, that nod might be the best one. But overall in this episode, there's no words, but so many moments,
This is more of like the emotional kind of character arc. Whereas the second one to me is like, It reminds me of the reasons I like Avengers 2, but everyone hates it. It's like, I just love seeing them do a little quest thingy. It shouldn't always be the big moments. I just want to see the little moments and them be as big. And this is the big epi moment, though, where it's like, he gives away Baby Yoda and then makes the decision to turn on this guild. And we haven't seen a lot of it, but you have to give that the weight it really is. It's like, he's like... Because I know he's making the decision because it's like a show and he's not going to... Baby Yoda's not out. But it's still great to see him have those realizations. And you realize how much they've done with so little already. As you said, with the little ball moment. It's Baby Yoda is so well designed, created, performed by the puppet, CGI. Whatever the fuck they're doing. You know what the best thing is? I love how often we get close-ups of Baby Yoda. And he's small. He's a Baby Yoda. But then there's like a shot of like... Mando walks into a bar and Baby Yoda is like the size of a toenail and he's just crawling along the ground. You're like, oh fuck, look how tiny he is! You can pick it up with a little... it's so good. It's... And having that final, him going, no, I'm gonna... It's right then with the ball. Yeah, he turns on all the ship and stuff, has that moment, he's like, clicks all the switches off again and then just fucking murders a fuck ton of stormtroopers.
And we get to feel the threat of the Mandalorian because he's kind of just been beaten down a lot in the last episode. Yeah. So we really get to see him use all his tricks, and he's very creative in the combat sense. And I like how all the tricks he uses here to get the child out, he uses later in the season, and kind of at times, like, people will see it coming, or people will just, in the episode where they go to the New Republic ship, he uses a lot of these tricks from this episode, but they just don't work against, like, the big tough devil guy, or...
Yeah, fire,
Yeah, they're kind of one step ahead of him at the same... There's lots of great little moments established here that, kind of get paid off later. But I just really... I love how he rightly it ends up just being completely swamped by the bounty hunter guild. Like, they all get alerted, and there's just this building sense of tension as he's leaving with the child, and you see all these little red lights just blinking, perfectly established in the bar. You just slowly see them all light up, and then as he's walking through the streets here and there, just little red lights blinking. You're like, fuck. They're coming for you. Get out. And then it just builds and builds and culminates in... I remember watching it for the first time, just jaw-dropping, like, I've been waiting for this live-action moment. All of the Mandalorians show up and help him out, because it is a creed, and they got to back him, even though he might have done the wrong thing, yeah? We stick together, and we're going to help you out. They had tension. Him and the blue guy have a bit of tension earlier.
The best way to... I don't know, I think, to me, this show has done such great stuff where it's like, yeah, I agree, it's kind of short, but you know what? If you're able to have one scene and big brawler Boba Fett is like, fuck you! And then by the end, they're like, this is the way. And they're all like, this is the way. And then when he's like, but we'll have to move location or whatever. And he's like, this is the way. I was just like, this is the fucking way! Fuck yes! Oh my God! I don't know, I feel like they really... have that, like, I don't know, it really works, and having them all rock up at the end. Like, even having them all be part of the same group, and then, but he's kind of separate, like, even with just a little bit where at the end the guy, like, nods off, and he's like, man, I really need to get one of those bloody jetpacks, eh? It's like, because he's not so part of it that they all, I don't know, it's like different levels of it, or, I don't know, I feel a real sense of, like, this weird code, old knights kind of feeling, which is really cool because of, like, I mean, the obvious, it's like a knight helmet kind of look Boba Fett's always had, and I don't know, I think it's really cool kind of way they've done this, especially then with the forging of the armor, the way he gets the armor, and once he's fully, like, loaded up, she's like, you're gonna have a bit of a target on your back. I really like them setting that up where it's like, yeah, and then when he walks into the bar for the first time, everyone looks at him and they're like, oh, look at this fancy boy with his fancy boy armor, and how the armor is so good that, like, if he gets shot, he'll survive, but other people will die from those bullets, and, like, I don't know, it creates a really interesting dynamic of kind of wearing so much on you that kind of puts you as a different target in a way. I don't know, it kind of reminds me of when they mentioned the Elder Wand, where it's like just having something so powerful.
Yeah.
You know, people will just come and kill you, you know? But if you didn't have it, you'd still be as good, but without that target. I don't know, it's an interesting thing. And I think that's really fun.
Voldemort's undoing.
Yeah, and I think that, I don't know, not the Mandalorian's probably going to have that same thing, but it's really cool to have that kind of, just something very OP, but also, yeah, kind of sets him apart.
You know, we're building to a moment, I mean, where he gets that Darksaber, and he, I mean, what's he going to do? Fight a Jedi? Or is that what's going to happen? What if the Jedi, give us the child?
Okay, all right. So do we want? Because I was gonna say, do we want to save our theories for?
Oh yeah, sure.
Just because I have a fuck ton to say about
let's
that
save it.
exact thing. But yeah, let's end it with that. I reckon to lead in, because in a week it's out. So this might be our last discussion before we know either nothing or a lot. Maybe, who knows? They could really jump off with our origin epi of some sort. We don't know.
So we said a lot about episode 4 already. Sanctuary.
It's 7 samurai, but it's actually not as bad as I thought. You know what the best part of this episode is, and almost the only thing I need to say, apart from what we said earlier? You mentioned before how R2-D2 in the originals, and JJ found this out and probably put BB in it and all that stuff about just cut away to an inanimate but friendly character object thingy. And you were like, Baby Yoda's that. There's a scene in this episode where Mandalorian is fighting MMA fighter, whatever her name is, and it's awesome, and they've both got guns on each other, and then it cuts to a wide of that, but in the middle of them, Yoda's like drinking a tea. It's the great. I remember hating this episode the first time, and I laughed out loud the first time, and it was like, all right, I'm happy this episode exists for this moment. And rewatching it, I think a lot of this episode works fine. Maybe the middle bit where they do the 7 Samurai bit really quickly is kind of a bit nonsense, but Baby Yoda's great. It's great to see him with a bunch of kids, and, Mando's like, all right, I found a place. I'll leave him here. I'll go off. And then he finds out he can't do that, and it's the good middle area of that movie, or, the movie arc of this character, where he's like, he saved him, he did this, but he's not going to be the father. That's not really, but oh shit, I guess I'll have to be with him a bit longer. And then that kind of culminates with the final episode, which we'll get to, but, where she's all like, this is the way. You're the fucking father now, bitch.
So this episode is directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. Her only entry this season, which is interesting.
Is that, she's the chick from Jurassic World, yes?
Yeah, Ron Howard's daughter. Yeah.
Wow. Is this
Black Mirror
a directorial debut of some sort, or is she a director? I'm just not aware.
That's a good question. I don't know. I think she's directed some TV. I'm just going to click on her name now and have a look. But I would say that this is this the worst episode?
Easily the worst one. Yeah.
And it's not that bad, and it's pretty quick, no. and honestly, you have to go lay low somewhere after the shit that went down last episode. So I understand its place in the season.
It's not as good as like an Avengers 2. We're at the farm, and it's the cool down moment. Like, it doesn't hit what I think it's wanting to hit. But I think it's good. I mean, I thought it was... I was like, angry when I first watched it, but I just remember thinking the Seven Samurai thing, because in Clone Wars they do like a 4-parter. I just remember being like, why do you need to have all these villagers be like, we'll fight with spears, and then they fight with some spears, and it's like, I don't buy this. They should all be dead. I think if this episode had done that and then killed everyone, and he'd have to leave with Baby Yoda as everyone burned, I would have been like, fuck yeah. But you know what? The show's not wanting to do that at this point. It's season 1. It's early days.
No, it should have done that.
It should have. No. Yeah. Okay, you know what? I'm not being nice and friendly. This episode's terrible. 0 out of 10. Should have done it. Although, not kill everyone. Keep sexy buff MMA fighter. She's awesome. I really liked her. I think I didn't the first time because I thought she was a one-off character in this epi and just went, oh no, I don't like anything that's happening here. But on a rewatch, especially just watching it all in one go, or 2 goes, sorry, but still, over 2 days, her coming back, I'm like, oh yeah, like when she appears again, I'm like, yes.
I like the idea that she's just hiding out here too, and she's like, fuck, a Mandalorian, I'm fucked, and just attacks him.
Yeah.
And then they establish, oh wait, we're not here for each other? Alright, it's all good. That concept is great.
Yeah. You know what is kind of amazingly funny and stupid though? Like, he's like, all right, Baby Yoda, guess we gotta find another planet. This entire planet is taken by one girl on the run. What are you fucking talking about? And then 10 seconds later, he's like, oh, there's another remote place on this remote country, on this remote fucking world. Oh, I'll go there. 20 minutes away. It's like, what the fuck? You said the whole planet was taken. Like, what do you... I think it was just like, I don't know, maybe he was being hyperbolic with his statements to the Baby Yoda. But I was like, what are you talking about, mate? If this planet's okay, go like 5k down the road. Like, or 500k, I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
go to the other side of the planet. It's like...
I love how planets are mostly just, it's a city. We go to the planet, it's like, we're here at this one main city on the planet. So funny. But
I mean, that's what people do with cities, so...
No, for sure. It just...
There's like a whole country there. You can go anywhere, but let's go to Melbourne,
Oh my God. Touche. Yeah. You've rebutted me.
So, episode 5.
Tatooine. We're back at Tatooine. Rookie Han Solo. Great app.
The Gunslinger, directed by Dave Filoni again.
This is the one yes. Okay. I knew he directed one more. From what you've said, that makes sense. This is the only one it could be. I've now realized. This is a bloody step up.
From his first episode.
One.
Yeah.
I think some of the scenes in one, I actually, like that kind of maybe almost stand out more. But this episode to me is the one that is the closest to being hot garbage and kind of like member berries and A New Hope, just that kind of like that thing you had where you were saying at the start of the season, you're like, ooh, like, certain things where you weren't like, you're a bit afraid of what they could do. This one's starting where it's like, I don't know, like coming
the
back.
The dogfight at the start, I loved.
No, I'd actually forgotten about that.
It opens.
That's
and we're
fantastic
in the
stuff.
Oh, it's so good. So good. I don't know if they're miniatures or what's going on, but it just looks like so real. I feel the weight of the ships. You get a real sense of how the fight plays out and how he overcomes it. It's really great. Opens with a bang. And again, going back to what I said about Dave Filoni, that is an animated sequence. So, whether it's miniatures or not, like you're really like
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's maybe where his strengths lie a lot more in that kind of stuff.
You saying like being like I started talking about the epi, then you went, what about the start? I was like, all right, I've temporarily forgotten the start, but like it's such a great way to start the epi and get you in, and it's kind of you're in the middle of something that kind of
he's being hunted by bounty hunters. It makes perfect sense for the context.
Yeah, like you're not lost. You're not like, oh, who's this? What's going on? Immediately you're like, oh fuck, another guy's already out to get him. We're already on. Like it's
awesome.
And this kind of thing, if this was a movie, like how does this play from the end of, like if we're, how we're an hour in, then we're an hour and 1 minute in. We're something like just in terms of being episodes. I think this does such a fun job of kind of like being able to do certain things like at the start of episode 4, where just with some farmers for a little while, and then like, oh my god, there's all these bandits, and like, you know, and then in this one, like with the cold opening, just space battle, unrelated stuff, but kind of, you know, related to the overarching plot, and just spectacular, but separate in a fun, great way that cold opens can be. And then this show, we haven't really mentioned it. Maybe this is the bloody time to mention it, but bloody like the ba-boom, and do-do-do, do-do-do, like that whole opening theme, that Western vibe, but like the song's got this just beautiful theme, and kind of the way they implement it in the show and then play it over the credits with their beautiful like snapshots of the episodes. It's great fucking music. And
Yes.
you mentioned it before the podcast, but if you maybe want to say it again, because you'll say it more eloquently than me about the...
I've been trying to rack my brain, but I asked a question of you, and it was, you know, what's the second best song in The Mandalorian? And the answer is there isn't one, because apart from the main theme, the music in the show is, I think for the most part, just not memorable, uninspired. It's not doing anything bad that I notice it, but I can't remember a single track apart from that opening.
When you said that, to me it was like, because when I was watching this again, for just context, if you haven't watched our other episodes, did like a month of Doctor Who, watched a fuck ton of like, you know, 8 to 12 the seasons, and like just a lot of like, especially, you know, only Peter Capaldi's, like the music was playing, and like there's a theme that kind of plays quite a lot throughout, and this theme playing throughout, like he walks in the door, he does this, he shoots a guy in the ba-boom, and it playing at the start of every episode and kind of carrying through a bit and having that whole thing. I really liked it. I mean, I fucking love it so much. I listened to it a heap last year when the show first came out. Really, really into it.
Same.
But it only dawned on me. Like, it only truly dawned on me when you're like, what's the second best song? And I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh my God, there's literally not another song. Not a single moment stands out to me or remains like, and that's kind of crazy because that song is so good.
And there are great moments in the show that if there was a really powerful piece of music underpinning it, I would remember, because I always remember that stuff, and I just don't remember it.
The thing that's coming to mind is, skipping ahead, but I'm just going to do it, like IG 11's volcano lava river scene. Walking out there, what music's playing then? But I'm just thinking, if that scene's happening in Doctor Who, I'm like, I know what music's playing, and I've listened to it 25 times. I don't know, it's like, yeah, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe if, you know, I go through the soundtrack a bit, I'll be like, oh no, there's some good stuff there. But
none of it's bad, don't get me wrong. I just
No, definitely not.
It's
yeah.
not memorable like that opening track is.
It's just because that track is so bloody good. It nails all that Western vibe, but also not just, I don't know, it doesn't feel like they're just stealing something that Ennio? Oh fuck, I don't know that guy's name.
Ennio Morricone.
Yes, thank you. I was so close. Yeah, like it doesn't feel like they're kind of like stealing or, you know, anything where you're like, it's a bit derivative or whatever word, but it's so good. I love it so much. But no other good songs. Interesting.
Back to episode
5.
Sorry,
back to the epic.
What do you think of Toro Calican, aspiring bounty hunter?
The first time I watched it, and this time I couldn't 100% pinpoint, but is he sitting in the same bar in the same seat Han Solo's in when he meets...
He may as well be.
Yeah, because to me it feels like that, and the only reason I'll accept that in any way, apart from being like intolerably member berries, is that almost immediately this cool, sexy, suave bounty hunter is like, it's my bloody first job, I can't do it alone. Please help me. Strong, tough man. And it's like, is immediately like, oh, this guy's no good. Like, this guy's like absolute, like, I don't know, like showboat kind of legend. Like, I don't know, he's like a thrill-seeking kind of like, he wants to have the reputation, but doesn't seem like someone, I don't know. He's an interesting character. Like, is he...
Yeah, I mean, in this universe, there would be people like this. You know, he's aspiring to be something he isn't at yet, and obviously, the perfect kind of team up for the Mandalorian, because the Mandalorian's trying to lay low, and he doesn't really want anyone in the know because they're going to be after him. So, It obviously ends up backfiring, but it's
He's an interesting character to pair up against Mando because he becomes like, he looks like the guy you should root for. They've cast a good kind of like suave, sexy guy, but almost immediately, like when he's like, I don't know, he becomes very dislikable very quickly. And like, it's in the way, like even just right at the end, like the way he tricks him with like something from earlier in the episode and then just fucking kills the shit out of him. It's just like, yeah, fuck that guy. Like, I don't know. It's, yeah, I really liked this episode. I really liked seeing, just like in the flashbacks, I love seeing prequel droids now in like modern, I say modern day, that doesn't make sense, but kind of more like current Star Wars around like the original times, but it's got those prequel droids. It's really fun to see those. I don't know, do you know the name of the droids I'm talking, like the repair droids?
Oh, the ones with the guns on their hands?
What?
What do you mean? Oh, the repair droids from episode 1. Yeah, right. I thought you were talking about the flashback.
Sorry, no.
I know what you mean.
No. Sorry, not the Clone Wars ones.
From Anakin and
Anakin's,
Watto's garage. Yeah.
Jar Jar Binks is like hitting them in the face. Like, how do you turn them off? It's like, I don't know. I can't remember how that plays out, but those guys, yeah.
Actually, that leads to a larger point that I think is one of the parts of the show that I really do appreciate quite a lot, is that this is the first piece of Star Wars content that seems to be embracing the entirety of Star Wars. There are references to the prequels, there are references to the original trilogy, there are even references to Rogue One.
Dude, they even set up plot points for Rise of Skywalker. The last piece of Star Wars content to ever reference it.
Bill Burr says Canto Bite. I mean, there's just like, it really...
He does a racist Jar Jar impression. It's so good. Yeah, that's wild stuff. Yeah, that is so true. They embrace every single second of it, which is awesome.
I like that a lot. And these little, episode 1 Tatooine droids are there again. I mean, a lot of the technology is old in Star Wars. It makes sense we'd see these recurring things. And to be fair, I mean, he goes to Mos Eisley Spaceport, goes into a bar. It looks pretty similar. Everything in Mos Eisley looks similar, though. It's all just like mud house and bars, and everything's made out of...
Yeah, I mean, who's to say the Mos Eisley's bars aren't the same as like a McDonald's, where they want to be uniform?
There's just a bunch of ports and a bunch of bars, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's... I think just... I remember just on the first time being like, I think just the first time as well, knowing there's 8 epis and being like, I want everything from the first season. Where now the first season's out and we've almost got a second one. I think I'm way more open to being like, take your time. Have this first kind of simpler season. Then maybe we can start getting to more stuff. And I know you were saying that Darksaber stuff before. It's like, I'd be happy for him not to be wielding it till season 3. If that's the pace of the show. Like, I don't know. It's happy for it to take its time, you know. Just because, like, if you're going to want to do this, I'd much prefer to see Mandalorian go for a while than to get an episode 10 or...
Hey, I would love if every season is him establishing a new piece of technology in his arsenal. I mean, season 1, he gets the armor. Season 2, he's developing the jetpack. Season 3, he gets the Darksaber. And then by season 4, we would totally buy this fucking knight with a jetpack and a laser sword going into battle. Like, isn't that the most exciting thing?
With a magic baby on his back.
Yeah, that's fucking sick.
Oh my god. Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that's what's so fun about it being like a TV series. I was going to say long form, but it's really only just slightly more than a movie in a way. But I think it really is able to just play with a bit more with that kind of building a character and really building him up. And god damn, I'm so excited.
At the beginning of this podcast, I think I was, and maybe even before recording today, I might have been a bit down on the episode length, maybe just because it was so surprising, because you just don't see that anymore. Everything always feels like, if anything, it's too long. And then this feels so succinct and to the point, and then sometimes maybe brushes over things a bit quickly, but then you realize, no, it's just trying to carry the central story on, and it does a pretty effective job of doing that. And honestly, I would rather have this, I want more, than the, Netflix Marvel series where you're constantly like, if you shave 4 episodes out of this, it might have been pretty great.
I'll never rewatch a single scene from any of those scenes, except for maybe one of the hallway scenes. But there's better fights. I'll watch Winter Soldier or I don't know, Banshee or
something more succinct. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you just saying that, I'm like, I fucking love that it's only 8. There's a couple, there's the opener, and then we kind of come back in a double part at the end, and there's a couple in the middle, but I think this just feeling like just thinking about this whole season, it's like, it's very short and succinct, but I'm glad it's not any longer. And if they want to start making longer, bigger epis, I'll think they'll have like kind of earned that, and it'll probably be needed for the story and stuff. Whereas I'm really happy this kind of opening look at it all is so exciting. Something that I want to talk about, I've just looked down at my notes. The end of the Tatooine episode. We have... Oh, actually, before we talk about her death, talk about the character by...
Ming-Na Wen?
Yes.
Fennec Shand? Yeah.
What's her name in the show?
Fennec Shand.
Right, yeah. Cool name. I bloody love her helmet. I feel like... I don't know. If you're going to make a flashback epi, have her in it with Mando, because she's not in it enough. Like, I think that sometimes when you cast someone, you're like, oh, I like them. And then when she gets shot, it's like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like, I was like, it's powerful and shocking, but part of me is also like, I'd just have preferred her not to have been killed. I feel like you set this character up, and it's like all the other side characters we've talked about, it's like, I don't know, I've enjoyed them, and I'd like a little bit more. But then death is good like that sometimes in a show where you shock me, and then I'm left kind of like, oh, can you imagine the stories that we could have had? And it creates that bittersweet thing, and making the character, the rookie Han Solo, like an absolute piece. Yeah, I don't know.
And then someone finds Fennec Shand's body at the end.
That's the first thing that's the note I had. It's like, oh, Boba Fett tease. But I didn't even realize that's what
I rewound it 3-4 times. There is nothing about that costume that, like, it seems suggestive to me that it's Boba Fett.
So the only reason I say that is because I saw that, like the first time I saw it, I was like, what the fuck? It feels like it cut 2 seconds too early, because the character goes down to reveal themselves and we don't see it. And I'm like,
yeah,
what? And then I'm seeing online, everyone's like, the shoes have a jangle, the Boba Fett jangle. I'm like, what? Is that a thing? I'm a pretty big Star Wars fan. I'm not the biggest, obvious, but I'm pretty sure that the jangle of his boots is meant to be the giveaway. But I think that to me is just them being like, we have no idea. They didn't even tease Baby Yoda, so they have no idea how this is going to play. Like, I don't think they realize what they'd really made in a way, because otherwise they would have teased him, I think, just because of...
No, I think they knew what they had with Baby Yoda.
Okay.
I think they knew so much that they had a surprise that they wanted to keep.
Okay.
At a cost to them.
It could be right.
Because they had no merchandise out for Christmas.
That's I don't know. I feel like I had a conversation with someone and I was like, that's why. It's like, if they knew what they had, they would have ruined it. But then I guess someone somehow convinced the fuckheads who make those wrong decisions to make the right decision. Because
I think Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau said that they asked Disney not to.
Right, okay.
I
have not done any... Yeah, I didn't do any research, so I'm just kind of going off what Yeah, interesting. But yeah, so potentially Boba Fett tease at the end. Feels like something they put in case they wanted to put him in whenever they might choose to put him in. And then they could also be like, that will never come up. Or maybe it'll come up and a character will be like, I was chasing this other character at 1.5 years ago, and it'll just be some guy, or whatever. It depends on how they do it. But what I think would be really fun is if you put Boba Fett in, but this character that was there wasn't Boba Fett, and you just, it should be Cad Bane. So Cad Bane is a character from Clone Wars, and he might have died in Clone Wars. I don't remember, but it doesn't matter. I don't care. He's like a blue alien with like a lizardy-esque, but not fully lizardy, I feel like, with kind of tubes coming out from his neck or something around, something like that. And he wears a cowboy hat, just a normal cowboy hat, but he's like this weird blue cowboy alien bounty hunter. And he's the bounty hunter they introduced in season 2. That's kind of like a reoccurring character that he's one of the reasons that I liked Clone Wars until season 7. And I was always yelling at you and angering you and making you annoyed by mentioning the show, because the characters like him, he should be in the show. He would be fucking sick. So I'd love for that to be the reveal, just because, like, weird fake out. I don't know. But maybe it'll just be Boba Fett, because, you know, they will put Boba Fett in at one point. But I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't have too much else to say. Do you have any other thoughts on the gunslinger?
Nah, I liked the female repair character. I liked her
Oh, yeah.
things.
She's fun.
Yeah, I just thought I'd give her a little cheeky mention just because, like, yeah. Oh, actually, no. Sorry. She's great. But you know what's really great? They're looking at sand people. And I'm like, oh my God, a sand person's going to, like, jump out and be all like, oogity boogity, I'm a bloody sand person. And I'm going to be like, I remember. I've seen Star Wars. Stop Star Warsing me. Star Wars, you son of a bitch. But then there's this bizarre, like, pan across like it's Arrested Development where they're like having a conversation and they pan out and that third person's just there. It's like that, but there's just sand people just standing there. That scene is really funny to me. I don't know, they just feel like they just appear. It's very amusing, but I love that they have a conversation and negotiate. And
yeah,
I love that we see, just like the Jawas, I love that we see this kind of like characters and, you know, situations we've seen play out, but because he's a bounty hunter and he knows different things to bloody Luke, you know, it plays out entirely differently. And that's really fun. I really like that. Next epi, Bill Burr, Dubs Guns, maybe 3?
Chapter 6, The Prisoner. This was directed by episode 2 director, like I mentioned earlier.
Who was that again? Oh, yeah. No, sorry. Yeah.
Rick Famuyiwa.
Yeah.
So he goes back to his old buddy.
The guy from Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, I've not seen that, but sure.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, he's a main character. Like, every time he's speaking, I'm like, Sons of Anarchy. I remember you're riding bikes and stuff.
Mark Boone Jr. Oh, he's the guy from Batman Begins. What, they don't eat falafel?
Oh, yeah!
Falafel guy.
I always forget he's in that. Yeah, that's awesome. I like him. I like Bill Burr. You know, one thing I remember hating and being really scared about them bringing in characters into season 2 is that, what are they called? The Trisex? The Trilex? The Tridex?
Twi'leks.
Yes, thank you. What is it? Twi'leks.
Yep.
Sweet. So they've got the weird back head thingies. And I remember thinking that visual effect or practical or whatever it is, like, just not working for me. And I looked at it very closely this time. And I think it maybe, I don't know, I just was too harsh maybe. I think it works pretty well as like these big veiny head thingies. I don't know. Yeah, I really like them as a creature.
It's like Jabba's side guy. Yeah, he's the Twi'lek.
Is he?
I don't know. Isn't he?
Isn't the Twi'lek the one
two
that
big long
for him?
things on his head?
I thought that was like more like more big and different. Like maybe he's like I don't know, like a, who knows?
You don't think that's the same, really?
No, it could be. Part of me is like, isn't his like more twisted and turned around, where theirs is kind of two flowing kind of tail hair pieces things, you know, like the one that dances for him in that same scene. Isn't she a Twi'lek?
Yeah. Well, I googled Twi'lek and he came up and A-list.
God damn it! I'm misremembering his face. No, I'm just misremembering him. I thought he was like kind of like, you know, I don't know, a little different.
They all look kind of different though, if you look at them. And his are just longer, right, and they're kind of draped over. But he might just be older. I don't know.
Oh, no. See, I'm just looking at it now. He's got one, he's wrapped it around. And I think that's why I feel like it's like different. But no, yeah, his is just, oh my God, he looks so fucked up. Bib Fortuna.
That's it.
Oh my God, he looks so fucked.
I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of the female Twi'lek in this, or really the brother for that matter. I found their performances kind of off-putting, and I don't know.
Over the top, maybe?
Yeah, it just wasn't working for me, and I think, I don't know how I feel about this episode. It's decent. I think the most exciting part for me is when the New Republic rocks up in the X-Wing.
Yes! X-Wing cops. Oh, yeah.
And they just decimate that ship. I don't know. I really liked how it tied up at the end there. And left Bill Burr and the crew on the New Republic ship, so they might.
I really liked that they all got left on there and they're just stuck there forever now. That was a lot of fun.
And little nod to the New Republic, and yeah, I don't know, some nice elements in this episode. It's good. It's a hallway episode, much like our beloved Doctor Who. The entire episode, essentially, for the most part, takes place on what appears to be one hallway set that they've rejigged to make it look like it's lots of hallways.
We had talked about this before this episode and before I rewatched it. And so when I was watching it, that was in the back of my mind. And I think that's why I'm more forgiving and I like it more than you this time, because I just remember being like, this is one fucking set. And look what they're doing. I can't even tell. It's stunning. And they kept running from they're like, now we're from the left side of the hallway. Now we're from the right side and shooting from this angle. And I was just like, this is like the Cube, where it's like, part of me is like, I know it's one step. Part of me is also like, they're selling it. They're really selling it for me.
I disagree. I think the Cube does a phenomenal job of doing that.
No. I'm not
better than this is what I'm saying.
No, yeah, for sure. I was. That's why it kind of came to mind, because that's like, to me, that's the single hallway set. Single cube set, and I think it might have even been you that told me that, and I went, oh my. Of course it is. Oh my God, of course it is. Oh, fuck. And realizing that and looking over it again and being like, Jesus, that's my God. No, the Cube's amazing. This is much more but it's also fun to know they've had to just, reuse something. I really like the robots in this. The scene where Mando, and they don't help. Mando has to take out all of them. That's probably my favorite bit. I really like that. Where you finally get to see him kind of pwn.
To me, the robots in this were very reminiscent of a show I love called Battlestar Galactica, and the Cylons in that show. The way they moved, and I think it's because they weren't using any motion capture performance or anything. They wanted them to look like robots, and they're very kind of animated in their movement, much like. But so many robots now are played by motion capture, and it's why IG-11 looks really great, because he's operating like a robot. He's got unconventional joints that spin around, and it's completely inhuman in every way. You never have to buy it as a human, so it works even more.
Whereas the robot in this epi, the one with the bug eyes, that's a guy in a motion suit, yeah? Maybe?
Oh, that's just a guy in a suit, yeah.
Yeah, no.
That's like a C-3PO, yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, okay. That's why it looks so good. Oh, okay. Because I was going to say the standout for me is just he looks so good.
But I'm talking about the droids on the New Republic ship.
Oh, no.
They
I
look
know.
like just Battlestar Galactica droids to me.
I haven't seen it. I think I've seen the miniseries that started, you said, it was instead of the pilot or something. I don't know. We'll not get into that. I haven't seen enough to know what you're talking about, but I'm aware there are robots called Cylons. But yeah. Are you saying that's a good or a bad thing, just to clarify? It works or it doesn't work?
It doesn't work for me.
Okay.
I think, it's Star Wars. Build a thing. Make a thing. This is what Star Wars is all about. I put a bunch of guys in dumb fucking suits and whatever. I don't know. They look like just a CGI robot to me. Which I guess is fine. My favorite robot in the thing is just the big thing that looks like a ball. And the big devil guy just throws and they explode.
Yeah.
I wish all of the robots were just those, because that felt more like a real thing than I guess the other ones did.
Yeah.
And if we're doing we got a real hallway set, and we got a real big devil guy, and you got a real droid flying, everything's real, a little miniature ship, but then there's just CGI New Republic robots that kind of stick out.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting to hear. I think probably the only reason they don't really strike out to me is because for me, the scene's playing as a story beat rather than the visual thing, where it's Mandalorian, Mando bloody hates robots. And we've also got the added story element of that moment Bill Burr stops the other guy from helping, which I don't know, they all betray each other and it's a bit whatever, but that moment to me is kind of more real than the betrayals, because it's oh no, that's a crew of misfits and mercenaries and shit cunts, they'll all fight together, but he's hey, let's just, this guy's a bit of a cunt, let's let him do it, and if he can't, he'll die and we'll take the last two or whatever. And I don't know, that really played to me. And then when he just kills them all, I'm like, booyah. I feel like he hasn't proper just killed a bunch of people in that tough way for a little bit, maybe. I don't know, I could be wrong. But yeah, I really liked it. But interesting, yeah. I see what you're saying, though. They do.
I mean, I agree with everything you're saying, and I think my point still, like it still remains. Yeah.
How much better would it have been if they looked incredible and better designed and blah blah blah? Yeah. I mean, you couldn't imagine.
Yeah, perfect is the enemy of good, and sometimes you just got to do what's good.
My God. Yeah. And the other thing I like is that Baby Yoda kind of doesn't play like a significant role, but I do like how people kind of react to him. Like when it opens, they're just like, "What is that?" Like, yeah, they're like, no one's like, a baby Rancor or it's a little Jar Jar or whatever the fuck, you know, like, because they reference so much stuff where they're all aware of, like, he's saying like, oh, you're like a Jar Jar, and everyone's not like, a what? You know, but this thing, everyone's like, what the fuck is that? It's like, is it a pet? What is it? I don't know. There's something really fun about that. Maybe just because I'm like, it's a baby Yoda. What are you talking about? Did you not see Star Wars? Next epi?
Yep. Yeah, I think we said everything worth saying. So, Chapter 7, The Reckoning.
Getting the gang back together.
Directed by Deborah Chow, again, who did episode 3, which I really liked. So what, Grief Karga, who we haven't mentioned at all either. Grief Karga, played by Apollo Creed. What's his name? Carl Weathers.
Oh,
just a nice little addition to the show. He you know.
Yeah, we haven't, have we? Yeah, I really like him. I don't know why we haven't.
This is really where he gets to do some stuff, starting from this episode. He's been in the remainder of the rest of the show, but it's here where he gets a little arc. You know, he's going to betray them before he's saved by Baby Yoda, who force heals him the first time. Yeah, this came out when Rise of Skywalker did, and we had force healing. Prior to this, it was, I think, something only done in the video games and maybe the expanded universe that was scrapped. But this is our, Rise of Skywalker and episode 7 here, the first time we see the force heal ability.
Do you like it here or in the movie better?
Look, the first time I saw Rise of Skywalker, it really didn't work for me at all. I thought that it was kind of unearned and just to introduce that element here, I would have much preferred it just be Baby Yoda. But they were doing something in that movie that required it to be a plot element, and I think I didn't mind it as much a second viewing. But I've just got so many issues with that movie, it's hard to kind of separate
any one issue from all of them and it combining it.
Yeah.
100%. I think just for me, in terms of just how it works on a story level, like just the basic simplicity of this guy, he's going to betray them. And then kind of unrelated, Baby Yoda just happens to save him because no one stops him from saving him.
Some Minox, another Empire callback. Minox attack the camp.
This is the other bit, like the ice monster at the start. And the Mudhorn's more of a plot thing, I feel. I mean, this becomes a plot thing, but this feels just like that. This just reminds me of, like, I don't know, parts I like about, like, the King Kong movies and stuff, where they're like, I'm just walking down. Oh my God, there's a giant, kill it! Oh God! Oh, they killed Jerry! Oh my God! And it's like, fuck yeah. Because I forgot this happened, and when it jumped out, I just screamed. I was just like, ah! Woo! So much, and it just keeps going. I'm like, oh my God, there's one of them. Oh, there's like 10. How many? It's so good. They killed so many. It's so exciting and fun. And then to have a character be like, I'm dying. This is fucked. And then, I don't know, it's like Baby Yoda, if they'd picked him up and put him in another room, he wouldn't have saved him. Like, they would have been like, Baby Yoda, get off him. I don't know. It's so kind of almost just by, happenstance, he's saved. And therefore, kind of, he has this whole, like, not life-changing epiphany, but kind of, at the time, very life-changing kind of moment of clarity. And I think that worked for me a lot more. I was surprised. I was like, fuck, this guy's barely been in it. But I feel like I understand where he's coming from. I understand where he was coming from, and I understand now why he's changed. So for me, the healing works really well as just a story element. So it doesn't come across as this OP ridiculous thing, because he wasn't like, I don't know, dead or anything. It just like, it felt like, yeah, I don't know. Even though he was dying, they're like, oh, it's spreading and stuff. It really played for me.
Can I mention just a little tidbit from this episode? Just another element that hasn't been around since the original Star Wars in 1977 is when Grief Karga like sends the Mandalorian a transmission. When the transmission reaches its end, you see him like lean forward to turn it off, which is just like a little detail I really appreciate. And, you know, no one's done that since, I think, Princess Leia, the recorded message of her, and then she leans in to turn R2 off.
Yeah,
Everything after that, you know, people, it's just kind of, now that you've seen how they record it's just in the vernacular.
They edit it or whatever,
Yeah, you don't ever see anyone kind of turn it on and off, but I just like that, you know, at the end of his message, he just leans forward and turns it off. Nice little touch. Nice little, just lots of elements like that add up to just selling this universe. And, but yeah, this episode is like plot-wise pretty... There's not a lot to it, is there? It's a plan that's going to go one way, then they kind of rejig it. We get some... I think all the great stuff is with Quill and IG-11, the reprogramming of the droid and the kind of fundamental message he has that he, you know, gives to the Mandalorian. It's, you know, what we put into these kind of life forms, weirdly, that shapes what they are. And, you know, the droid army attacking was just a puppet of the separatists who was just Palpatine. Palpatine's behind it all, you know?
Yeah, it's just one fucking cunt, and the droids are just, you know, extensions of him. It's not them as things. Yeah, it's a really interesting thing, and then having character like him hate them for a very valid reason. It's really great stuff. It's a lot of, I don't know, it's a lot of fun to see play out, especially with our Boba Fett and our IG-88. It's very funny. It's like, oh my god, he's a nurse droid now. That's so good.
It is, and there's a great little montage.
The reprogramming montage.
Yeah, and learning all of it, and
100%. I love he kills that fucking lizard. He drops the box on him. The Ugnaughts like, fucking goddamn, man. It's so funny. I love it. Yeah, I really like it. He just looks so good as well. Like, I don't know, just seeing him like move about as like the IG-88.
Well,
like they've
Quill,
stepped it up.
Like a practical, fantastic element right next to a completely CGI element. It's like, and it all just blends, and they're all on a big LED set.
Then they're not in the desert. They're not in.
And it's just, I'm buying it all. I love these characters.
Wherever they shot that first movie, it feels like they're there still. Tunisia, is that it?
Yeah, I believe so.
It's like, if you said they shot the whole thing in Tunisia, I'd be like, yeah, of course they did. But you're telling me they shot it in a room with like a fancy green screen, and it's like, my god, it looks so good.
The client who's the Imperial, you know, with the intense voice, I've forgotten his name again. Werner
Herzog, yes.
He just gets nonchalantly killed by Moff Gideon, which was a big surprise the first time I watched it, but obviously knowing now.
I had forgotten how he died. I was like, I remember he dies now, but I was like, I don't remember how. When it happened, I was like, whoa, that's such a bizarre way to kill someone. Like,
well, that's what happens in the Empire. You fuck up, then you get killed.
Yeah, no, it was just because it's that, you know, that guy with that voice, and it feels like a guy you wouldn't. I'm just surprised they killed him. You know, I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why I love episode 7 so much, because it just... Well, they kill Quill. They kill the guy who I thought we were building to be the big villain, and everything.
The villain, yeah.
Left.
And then Gus Fring is like, I'm the villain. It's like, thank you.
And it all, like this episode, like just lands all the punches you need to lead right into a spectacular finale, which it is. But it is that because of all the maybe hard work that's done here in this episode. So
I would argue this is a double-parter in a lot of ways, if not every.
It's interesting. It's two different directors, isn't it? Because it does feel so cohesive.
And I think that kind of works for me, just in that sense of like, it gives them both time to make sure their episodes are perfect. And
Yeah.
I'd say these, for what they're doing, I said 2's my favorite, but it's just moments like he just fights a big fucking bull in the mud, and then the Jawas eat some egg, and he's like, oh god, these Jawas. And something about that episode of the weakness that's peak episode of the week, I guess.
I think 2 has your favorite moments, yeah?
Yeah, and these double, I'm going to call it a double part finale. It's the show getting to the point that it had been building to. It makes it feel like a really cohesive season where all these little elements from the first 2, the 4th, and the 6th all come back together, back on the town from the first epi, which we did revisit. And then you have moments like his like Mandalorian leader has that speech where she's like, just for 3 minutes, is like, this is what season 2 will be. You'll look for his race. You'll be traveling. You're essentially his papa, you know? And he's like, this is the way. And it's like, oh my God, so keen for more. But that's a great book ending. Both these epis kind of coming back to where we were, and then kind of, I don't know, you know, with that guy who was his friend at the start, then wasn't, but kind of is again. And yeah, I really like this season. I think these last 2 episodes are so good. Like, even just the bit where they come into the town and there's just like 2 stormtroopers and they're just kind of leaning and they're so slack, and I don't know, there's just this vibe this show is given that it's just so fun to see all these elements we're so aware of, but in this very different atmosphere and different kind of environments. And I don't know, yeah. It's so good. It's so good.
So episode 8 really does start with it's very Taika Waititi.
Oh yeah.
It is so. I mean, it's 2 they're scout troopers, I think, from like Return of the Jedi, on the speeder bikes, just sitting there quipping. And how many jokes do we get all rolled together in one thing? So they joke about the just ridiculously inconsistent punishment from the bosses in the Imperial.
Yes, it's so funny.
The joke that they can't hit anything with their blaster.
Dude, the blaster bit with it, just the way they do it though is so subtle. Where he's shooting and he's just missing. And then the other guy's like, this guy sucks, but he doesn't say anything. Pulls out his gun, misses 3 times. I don't know. Rewatching it, I remember that being incredibly funny, but I was always like, it might have just been that first, reaction of something where I'm like, that's peak anything. But rewatching it, it's like, it's pretty exceptional stuff. It's so weird to see such an absurdist comedy scene with 2 stormtroopers kind of referencing metally like all these Star Wars elements that have been with us.
I hate to keep saying it, but again, tying it right back around to an element from the original Star Wars which stood out to people, which set itself apart as something different. When Obi-Wan Kenobi is on the Death Star deactivating the tractor beam, an element people love from the original Star Wars movie is that there are just 2 stormtroopers chatting to each other about things not related to work. Like, oh, have you seen the new T16 engine? Like, that was like, nobody had done that before in, the 2 guards quipping with each other. And now here we are in 2019 and they're running with that idea. And now it's self-critiquing, its own structure and its own silly things that it's established. And it's just great to see how far it's come, but how in love it is with the original and every part of Star Wars, really. That's what gives me hope, and it's what makes me scared about The Mandalorian. It's so in love with Star Wars, but I know that love can be turned and twisted and, the dark side or the light. What are they going to pick? Yeah. I don't know. This show could This show could be the best thing I've ever seen, and it could fulfill all of the wonders and the hopes of my imagination that I've had through childhood watching this universe I absolutely love. It is my aesthetic, It's the aesthetic that I love more than anything. It's like D&D characters in space. It's mythology. It's science fiction. It's archetypal characters and knights, and it's just wonderful. And I really, really... I guess The Mandalorian is the closest I've felt to that hope being rekindled since The Force Awakens. And The Force Awakens, it was just this brief moment where I'm like, oh, it's all going to be okay. And then I never had it again. As much as I like The Last Jedi, and there's a lot that works there, and, there are bits of Rogue One, but that movie doesn't really work for me. Rise of Skywalker didn't work for me. Kind of, Solo is just fine. and there's some fun sequences, but it's just kind of middling.
Solo is what this would have been if it had been a movie, not a TV series, I reckon. It wouldn't have had enough, but it would have been okay, but maybe better, but you would want it more.
This is the first piece of content Disney have produced that feels like it's living up to maybe what Star Wars can be, and it hasn't even quite got there yet, but it's shining very bright at the moment, and I'm very, very hopeful.
What it does right, I think, overweigh the things it doesn't do right. Whereas I say a Solo, when it misfires, it's so cringy and so like, fuck, come on. Like in Rogue, and I'm jumping all over, but Rogue One, it's fine. But you know what it also has? Those fucking goddamn terrible cosplay versions of the fucking those guys who get in a fight with Luke. I can't remember what he says, but something about, he says the same thing where he's like, that I can't remember.
The worst sensibilities that they're giving into, they're putting them in it.
Yeah, and it's like it doesn't even make. Yeah, and it's like they just bump into him. He says the same fucking shit, and it's like he has to get off that planet before it explodes. All these other, it's just nonsense fanfare, and it's just Whereas I feel like this at least kind of, they're like, all right, we want to use Jar Wars. We're gonna fully use them. We're gonna have them be characters and flesh them out and use them and. And I think they do that. Have
fun with it, more importantly.
Yes,
Rogue One, there's no fun in Rogue One.
Oh my god, no. That fucking movie hates fun and it hates me.
The most fun part is when Darth Vader slaughters a whole way of rebels. That's the most fun I had in the movie.
And you know what? I've dreamt and imagined for however many fucking years since that movie came out, the different ways Darth Vader could have been implemented in that movie. And I bet you 1,000 other cunts have, and it's like...
That's the most uninspired version.
Exactly. That's just the bare minimum you do 2 days before the movie comes out. Yeah, exactly. It's a reshoot. And that's it. It's great, but it shows how bad the movie is, how great that scene is. Because it's not, it's great, but God, if it's Darth Vader fucking murdering cunts and that's your scene, you could do anything. You can do everything. You have at least half your cast you can kill, or all of them, or it's just the potential is so crazy to have him. Yeah.
Well, Rogue One and Episode 8 of The Mandalorian, to tie it up, we see the, Death Troopers, I think they're called, the Black.
Yeah.
They look really good, and I like that
they look so good.
Brought them back in.
I love the river volcano bit of Epi 8.
With IG-11.
That is some wild stuff. Like, having the Mando, have to reveal his mask so he doesn't die because of blood clotting in his head or whatever the fucking... They have to take the helmet off, but... he's like, nah. But then the robot's like, I'm not a living thing. And he's like, oh, that's right. Oh, this is all tying together nicely.
He takes the helmet off. And he's just like, he's so beaten down, his face, he's not handsome like you expect him to be. He's just all fucked up. Yeah.
It's such a weird scene of we're seeing him. Oh, fuck. And then he's just done. IG-11's like, I made a joke to lighten the mood, and he's like, fucking robot. And then it just cuts, and that's it. He gets an ugly, weird shot of him bleeding to death. It's fucking amazing. Not this time, because I knew what was coming, but the first time I was so nervous. In the fourth episode, she's like, let me see your face. I'm like, don't do it, Mando! And then, I think in maybe 6, they try, Bill Burr and the crew of douchebags try and, take his mask off, and he's like, I'm not having any of this. I'm like, good, keep it on. Never show me your face, Oberon. Never. You have no face to me. It's mush to me. I don't want to see it. But I actually love seeing it because it was so brief, such a weird moment. He's not kissing any babes or sexy aliens or whatever. It's just a robot being like, are you not racist anymore? And he's like, maybe not. It's like, I don't know. It's a nice little moment. It's surprising how much kind of weight they're being able to give. I was so surprised to see him come back, and it's so not oddly well handled, but I really like how they handle IG-11 turning into Nurse Robot, but then going on when he murders the stormtroopers who are beating the shit out of Baby Yoda. I also can't believe they allowed them to put in stormtroopers punching Baby Yoda. Do you think they're only allowed to do that because there's the bag there? Because I don't know, man. I feel like I'm not the guy who's gonna jump up and down because you've shot a dog or something. Whereas it's the unspoken rule where you're not allowed to kill animals or do certain things, where I was so shocked and offended the first time I watched it when they punched Baby Yoda 3 times. I just kind of feel like there must be a huge percentage of people who are what the fuck? You're not, no. Because it's, I don't know, it's pretty funny. And then seeing IGA murder them all and just ride into town and murder everyone. So much fun.
I just had a dark visual for some reason when you were saying like hitting the baby Yoda, and I just like thought, well, you know, the season like begins with him like hating robots and then ends with like a redemptive arc for the droid and shows him that, you know, the droid saved the day. And I'm like, all right, so what would the end of the show be if it was a reversal? Like, he starts by saving the baby Yoda and ends by blowing its brains out with a blaster.
Oh, no.
Because he ultimately comes to the realization that this creature is too powerful. And just just you saying they can't do something like this. I don't know why I had that visual in my head. I'm sure everyone hates me now because I just said the most horrific thing, but it's never going to happen. It's a
Disney is suddenly like, you know what? We want to make sure every fan actually hates Star Wars, and they just end season 2 with the Mandalorian just killing Baby Yoda, just dancing about, being like, yeah. My real name's Boba Fett, bitches. And everyone's like, oh no, what have they done? And he takes his helmet off and it's Jar Jar or some shit. Bill Burr, you were right. It is Misa Jar Jar or whatever.
Do you want, so what, okay, here's a question for you then. What do you want the future of the child to be? Baby Yoda. You know, do you want Baby Yoda Mandalorian? Do you want Baby Yoda to become a Jedi? Do you want Baby Yoda just to hang out with the Mandalorian and use force powers here and there? What progression do you want for that character?
All right. I reckon next season, mostly the same, and one huge mythos plot epi. But don't bog us down with whatever you want to do. Like, if they really want to take us to Yoda's race, I don't think do it now, but maybe do like, okay, wait. So we're doing thoughts for season 2 and beyond. I don't know. You're aware of some of the rumors and stuff? Because I only have theories based off that I would have not theories if they weren't things. Right.
Yeah. I'm fairly sure I know most of what's been announced already.
The main thing I want to talk about is with a character from Clone Wars. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Ahsoka Tano.
Sweet. Okay. Spoilers, Clone Wars, and rumors for Mando season 2. But it'll have been out when
it's confirmed casting.
100% it is. I guess I didn't. Yeah. No. Yeah. Actually, no. That's a better spoiler. It's proper spoiler talk. Where this is the spoiler talk. I think that because they are bringing in Ahsoka from Clone Wars, one epi with her this season, heavy Baby Yoda mythos, her plot. I don't want that. I don't want her to be in a little bit. If she's in it, don't Captain Jack Harkness us for 10 minutes. Fucking, you know.
Do you want her to fight Moff Gideon with the Darksaber? You know? Do you want a lightsaber fight? Because I want a lightsaber fight in this season 2. I want
one.
some...
Yeah. All right. One lightsaber fight for sure. I
want a really cool light. Like, I want to see what they can do, you know? Like, they've got all this sick technology. They can do anything they want. They've established a bad guy. We know that there's a good guy coming into it with lightsabers
they've got to do it.
She has white lightsabers, yeah? So it's going to be like the perfect contrast, like the black lightsaber and the white lightsaber.
Is that something that comes in? Because she doesn't in the Clone Wars.
She does in Rebels. I've never watched. I've only just seen like I just watched the good scenes from Rebels, which is like 8 minutes, I guess.
Oh my god, got him good. I was gonna say there's no good minutes, but you're right. There's probably 8 good minutes, which makes it so much harder because there's like 30 seconds a season. And you're like, was that the best 30 seconds of my life? And then you're like, I'm being tricked again.
I watched the first episode of Rebels when it first started airing, and I immediately said, this is not for me, and I never watched anything until like there was a clip on YouTube, and it was like, Darth Vader's in it. And I was like, all right, I'll watch a bit of this. And I watched it, and I'm like, even though Darth Vader's there, I still don't want to watch this.
Why is his lightsaber so thin?
They're like needles, aren't they?
Yeah, it's... there's just so many creative choices like that just absolutely don't work.
Do you think we're going to get a Luke Skywalker in season 2 if he's got to go find the Jedi? I mean, Luke Skywalker is the only Jedi.
No, absolutely not. I don't think they should either. That's dangerous territory, I think. Luke can't meet a baby Yoda either, because then he'd be like, Yoda, I met a baby one of you. Oh, wait, no, this is after. I'm tripping.
Yeah, why not?
Cut that. Cut all of that. So, no, I just suddenly was like, oh, it's from in between. But no. Oh, yeah.
5 years after Return of the Jedi. So
yeah, for some reason I thought it was in between 5 and 6 for a second. That's way off. But, oh, he's even met Yoda then. I don't know what I was thinking. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe, oh my God, maybe that would be amazing. Give us some actual Jedi Luke. Oh my God. And they probably want to do that since everyone's like, oh my God.
Mate, because, like, I think there was a plot element.
Do you think you could get Mark Hamill in without us knowing, though?
Mark Hamill. No, you can't get Mark Hamill. You need a recast.
Oh my God, you're going to recast? I thought you were going to de-age.
No, definitely not. They'll recast it, and they should recast it.
Whoa. Wow, that'd be weird, man.
No, get Sebastian Stan. This is this is the internet's
Yeah,
favorite
yeah.
piece of casting news. He's already doing a Disney Plus series. He's prime. Everyone's been talking about this for years. It's gonna happen, I'm sure. If they do Luke Skywalker, they're at least gonna ask him, and maybe they'll find someone else who'll fit it. But that's fine. I'm totally cool with a new interpretation of that character. I would just like more. There's like a huge period of just, where we don't know what this character was doing. Like the next plot point we know for Luke is, when Ben Solo's a teenager. From Return of the Jedi to that point, we don't know what he was doing. So let's get it. And why not in this? Why can't he be a recurring character? Go for it. Have him jump out into the Outer Rim on a Jedi adventure and cross paths with the Mandalorian. Especially if the Mandalorian ends up getting the Darksaber, that's gonna get Luke's attention, isn't it? A Mandalorian bounty hunter with a lightsaber roaming the galaxy. Sure, dispatch Luke and his X-wing and R2. Do it. Like, stop. We don't need to dance around all this shit. Do the fun stuff, Disney. Do everything. Go nuts.
I'm of half a mind because so much of this I love seeing just something new that has this different stuff, but they have built up enough with this first season of standalone fun adventures that if they were suddenly like episode 3 season 2, Ahsoka kills Moff Gideon, he gets the saber, they're teaming up, and then season finale, Sebastian Stan appears. He's been cast as Luke. He's on a cliff. He looks around. He's like, hey, I'm not grumpy this time though, or whatever.
Yeah, I want to join you. Yeah. Imagine if the Mandalorian arrived at the cliff and held out the Darksaber to Luke, and then Luke turned around and just took it, and he was like, all right, let's do it.
Oh my God, I actually love that so much, even though that's offensive as. Although,
No, but why not? Why not have a scene? Get Ahsoka Tano and Luke. I want to see a conversation. I want to see Ahsoka Tano be like, "Look, this is what led to the downfall of the Jedi, and this is why I'm not a Jedi. Don't you fucking do it? What are you trying to rebuild it for? Is there how much interesting plot?
The Apprentice and the son of Vader. That would actually be incredible. And then you'd have the time to just have them having. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I think you've changed. I think before you, at the start of the episode, you're like, look, we're going to talk about our theories at the end. I think you've changed my mind on. I was kind of like, I don't know if I want them to get all Star Warsy, but they've cast Ahsoka. Spoilers. They fucking cast. They're going to put Boba Fett in this shit. They're going to put Cody. Everyone's coming back. So fucking, yeah. Recast Luke. Bring him back. Let's fucking do this. Oh my God. I feel like I've just signed up for something. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna go skydiving now. Oh no, I've said yes, but it's too late. It's like, oh, okay, I'm in. Luke, let's do this. Oh my God.
We're 5 years post Return of the Jedi. We know these characters they're heading the New Republic, which is the dominant force in the galaxy, and the Mandalorian has a connection to that because he's traveling with a Force-sensitive fucking baby Yoda. If you can't bring Luke into that storyline, and there's a lot going on in season 2. I'm not saying I have to have it right now, but I would like to get there. I would like Luke to come into it at some point.
Sure, yeah.
They just want to do Ahsoka and Boba Fett. that's a lot to do, in 8 episodes. If they're still doing the same. So I'm totally cool with just that. But I would like for it to lead that way. And I think it makes sense in the context of the universe and where we are, where everyone's positioned, that it could lead there. But it was interesting hearing what you said about Boba Fett, that he is an outsider Mandalorian, that he isn't actually like part of the guild or sect. So he's just someone who's stolen armor. This will be a really cool point of contention between our actual
That's something I was going to mention before, but that's probably the best part about that plot, where I'm like 99% sure that's, at least most.
Just imagine him pointing a gun at Boba Fett, but you're not a real Mandalorian, take that armor.
Yeah.
We're not both walking out of this room alive. You're not taking that armor with you. Yeah, I want that scene.
Yeah. And it's going to have so much more weight because, of all the Mando stuff we've got and the way they've built up, the creed, as he puts it, that will be really exciting. If they do Boba Fett, do you want to see... We're getting Boba Fett. Is the first scene of the season or the first scene of the episode he appears in, is it him crawling out of the Sarlacc pit?
No. It was 5 years ago. That was 5 years ago. It's two...
No. But you're going to just have that scene and then be 5 years later or whatever.
I think he's already... I mean, if that was indeed him in episode 5 of this season, then he's already out of it. I don't think you... I think you can have a throwaway line to it, but I don't think you need to fill that in.
Show it?
Nah, I don't think it's necessary.
It'll probably be my favourite scene of the season if they show it, but I agree with you. Have restraint... I feel like Baby Yoda has got such restraint. He picks up a mud horn, but almost doesn't save him. And then he shoots some fire back at the fucking... That shot where that fucking stormtrooper comes, he's got the red paint on his armor. He's just and the music's boom, 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 boom. And he's oh shit, I got the flamethrower. And then Baby Yoda fucks him up. We didn't mention that, but that bit's fucking sick.
I was just going to say there's a cost to the force power and then he passes out after. So it's just you get one go and now, all right, we're now fucked again. We got to get out of here.
Yeah.
You can't just keep using that element again and again. I like that there's a limit to it.
And often, the first time he uses it, but if Mando didn't have a knife, Mando still died. It was just he paused him at the perfect time. Just with the fire, it's it was a good time for him to chip in, but then they all still have to, escape the fire. And it's a really, they use it so well, so sparingly. I just hope they have that restraint with all elements, except for if, you're going to use Luke, proper use him. But still, if you're going to have lightsaber fights, do one incredible lightsaber fight. I want to see 4 okay ones. I just feel like this show is so good at kind of showing us what we want. There's that space battle, but it's not we don't get a bunch of them, but when we get them, they're really well done and they look spectacular. And I hope the show kind of keeps that mantra of less is more. Because I know you were pretty down on the length, but for me, it means there's just no fluff. The only episode with fluff is 4 for me, and that fluff was 3 minutes, and then I was no, we're back to the stuff.
I don't know if I was down on it as much as I was just shocked. By the realization.
Yeah.
People don't TV shows that
too,
short.
Yeah, no, really. They definitely, especially now because of Netflix and stuff. Sometimes shows are so long. Yeah.
So one element we didn't talk about in episode 8 was the TIE Fighter, which I thought looked magnificent.
Oh my god. That first time it fucking lands with all the stormtroopers there and stuff. You saying that, thank God, because I'd forgotten, but I was what the fuck? It looks incredible.
I mean, that whole sequence is pretty great. Them being bombarded in the little hideout. I love that an element throughout this series is just the Mandalorian kind of repeatedly getting beat down. He doesn't win every battle.
Yeah, he gets fucked up so much. It's so good.
He does, yeah, and it's it's everyone jokes about Boba Fett getting Boba Fetted, because he's kind of built up over one movie, and then he was originally intended to be the lead villain of episode 6, and then was when that movie was rejigged and rewritten and new director and whatever happened there happened. It was determined that he would be just at the beginning of the film and killed off pretty
Accidentally
quickly.
murdered. Accidentally murdered by blind Han Solo.
Yeah, so all this hard work they did for this character was for naught, essentially.
Do you think, though, without that kind of amazing look, built up kind of mythos, tiny lines like no disintegrations and all that jazz, but just also just mostly how fucking great he looks, dying like that, don't you think that's kind of sparked them wanting to I haven't read any of the expanded universe, but I've heard a lot about the insane, OP kind of character it becomes and that kind of beloved thing, and them wanting to make the movie, that not panning out, so them making this, even though it's not Boba Fett. Do you think that'll kind of, we only get the Mandalorian the way it is now because he dies like a spud? I don't know.
Oh, of course, yeah.
It's just interesting to think about, because you saying that thing about the sixth movie, I remember the first time you told me that Boba Fett was going to be the main villain. I'm like, fuck! Oh my god, I want to see that goddamn movie more than anything. But now it's like, I don't know, we've got the Mandalorian now, so it's all worked out. So you recasting Leia? Are we getting other Han? Third
Look,
Han?
I don't really feel like that there's any need to bring someone like Leia, Han. I mean, if they have a good reason for it within the context of the plot, however that develops, sure. But where we are now, I can see them bringing Luke in because of the elements of the plot that are being established and because of him being essentially the only Jedi left. Ahsoka Tano is a Force user, but very explicitly not a Jedi. So I'm not sure that, he's just going to give the child to her. It wasn't the command he received from the armorer. But I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. The trailer didn't show a lot of where it's going to head, and
it's mostly just shots of him and Baby Yoda in scenes like a Western, like just the most kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, it's very exciting how little. At least the one I saw. I don't think it was the full trailer either, though. To be fair, but what I saw was just so exciting. Just shots, that just make you go fuck. It just looks so good. So excited. It didn't show any elements of plot or any of the. I don't know, it's crazy that the final shot of the trailer wasn't like Ahsoka Tano. I don't know, it's awesome that the trailers aren't like that, like so many trailers have been in the past, I don't know. Spider-Man comes to mind, every Spider-Man trailer is every single element in the whole thing, and it's you don't need to do that, it's Spider-Man. And this is the same, they don't need to do it. Just show Baby Yoda again, and we'll be like, oh fuck, that's right. Mando, Baby Yoda. You don't need to show anything, but maybe they don't think that, and it's exciting because it's fuck. I have no idea what they're gonna do. I don't know.
Do you want to hear some? Do you want to hear all the casting?
Fuck. All right. Yes.
So we got Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano. We have Michael Biehn. He's joined the cast as a bounty hunter.
Oh.
That is, Michael Biehn from Aliens.
Oh.
Terminator 2 is Kyle Reese, yeah. Tamora Morrison, as we know, Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And Katie Sackhoff. Oh, Battlestar Galactica alum, Katie Sackhoff. Yeah. She's been in lots of other stuff. You will know her when you see her. She revealed to be reprising her role as Bo-Katan. I don't know who that is. Someone who was in Clone Wars and Rebels, apparently. One more piece of casting. Timothy Oliphant.
What?
Yes.
Oh my god. Justified.
Raylan Givens himself.
Oh my god.
As a character called Cobb Vanth.
Dude, you know what's so fucking frustrating? I, for a second, was hoping you were going to say as an unknown character, because he should, the cowboy western blue-faced alien I was telling you about? He should be Cad Bane, because that would just be so good. But his name is Cobb Vane? Fuck off.
Cobb Vanth.
Oh my god. He's Cad Bane. That's a fake name. They've Game of Thrones this. They've fake named us. Oh, maybe not. But he should be Cad Bane. That would be so... That's crazy he's in it though. Oh my lord. It's going to be so good.
Oh boy. I'm reading some stuff now that's very interesting.
Oh my god.
I don't even know if I want to go into it.
Oh, what do you mean?
It's just the general plot of one of the episodes.
Oh, whoa. What? How do you know?
It was announced when he was when Timothy Oliphant was announced. And
oh my god.
maybe I just won't say, just so it's a surprise for you.
Holy fuck. Is it good?
Could be.
Oh god. Could be. It's not what I want.
Could be good.
Could be.
References something that you were talking about earlier.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah. Do you want me to just say?
Just fucking tell me.
All right. Well, let me just read the article, and I'll. So it's from slashfilm.com, and it's just the article talking about Timothy Oliphant.
Oh my god.
Okay, so Timothy Oliphant is playing an enigmatic character named Cobb Vanth, introduced in the Aftermath book series. Vanth is the self-appointed sheriff of the Tatooine-based settlement Freetown. He wears a mysterious set of Mandalorian armor that was acquired from Jawas who scavenged the wreckage of Jabba the Hutt's sail barge shortly after the events of Return of the Jedi. As you may recall, that was the site of the battle where Boba Fett was thrown into the Sarlacc pit. I'm totally...
But his armor's in the pit, isn't it? It's not in like the...
The Jawas scavenged it somehow, and then Timothy Oliphant is wearing it, protecting a small town, Tatooine.
Then what's Boba Fett wearing?
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I like that. So he's going to be in Mandalorian now. God damn, he should be Cad Bane. That'd be so much fucking cooler. I bet you Cad Bane's dead and I just don't remember.
So some directors for next season. We'll have the first episode is directed and written by Jon Favreau. First time directing.
Ooh.
So he wrote most of the episodes of season 1, but this is the first one he'll direct. Dave Filoni has one episode. And then...
Do you know which episode that is?
Chapter 13. So episode 5. And new directors in the season include Peyton Reed, Robert Rodriguez, and Carl Weathers.
What? Oh, wow.
So some
That's
cast
crazy.
getting into direct. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah. So I guess he's coming back for that epi. Or maybe he's not on that epi. We'll see. That's Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
My God.
You know, Robert Rodriguez...
Spy Kids, hey, that's pretty exciting.
The funny thing about Dave Filoni is that whenever I see his face, he reminds me of, like, the illegitimate love child of Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez.
I thought you were just going to say his brother. I'm like, oh, I get that, but that's such a great pairing. That
he's got, like, a weird Quentin
him.
Tarantino face, but then, like, a Robert Rodriguez, like... I don't know, he's got the hat and the
hair,
vibe.
100%. That's so good. Oh my God. Who's directing the finale? So we got no Taika Waititi coming back.
Not announced, but there's a few empty spots. So the only chapters announced with directors are Chapter 9, Episode 1, and Chapter 13, Episode 5. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. Yeah. I don't know who's directing what. It just says that Peyton Reed, Robert Rodriguez, and Carl Weathers have been announced. Yeah. Oh, and Bryce Dallas Howard and
she's coming back. Cool.
And Rick Famuyiwa. Guy.
So everyone but your favorite. That's a bit of a shame. Yeah.
Well, Deborah Chow's working on Obi-Wan.
Of course. Yeah.
Good. I don't want to hear.
Focus.
Go work
on
that.
No, you don't want to split focus. No, that's as soon as you said. As soon as I was thinking about it, I'm like, no, you don't want to have to split focus, do any of that stuff. Very exciting. She got the promotion.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Fills me with hope. I hope she just directs the whole thing, to be honest.
I feel like she's either maybe writing all of it and not directing all of it, or maybe not writing but directing all of it. I feel like I heard that. But then again, I think they've gone back into rewrites, and so then who knows? It could be.
It wasn't rewrites. It was they threw out completely what was originally done, and they said this is not what we want. Which, oh my God, it's good. I think maybe it just means that they know what they're after a bit more clearly, and you're gonna have. Yeah, right, I mean, you're just gonna. Yeah. This is one thing that I think the internet at large needs to realize about not just film productions, but jobs and working in general, is that sometimes people don't collaborate well together. Sometimes people don't get along with each other, and sometimes people are not as productive with certain sets of people as they are with other sets of people. And sometimes you You just meet people that you don't jive with. And this is true in the entertainment world as it's true if you go and work for a company. A lot of productions get set up and people meet together and they have, really good chemistry and they think they're all on the same page. And then, they go off for a few months, write a bunch of stuff down, and then deliver it. And the people who are making the thing are like, ooh, this is not at all what we had in mind. Our visions have not aligned. And that's exactly what happened. Sounds like on the Obi-Wan series. And happens a lot. Happens all the time.
Putting it like that, that's a good way to put it. I don't know. That Obi-Wan series, I feel like it's just... I know exactly what I want from it, but I'm not sure that's what they want. It's just, there's so many ways you can go about it, and each way kind of is just very contradictory and different to the other way you go about it. So it's hard to see what they'll do with it, but still exciting.
I'm looking at Deborah Chow's credits, and she seems much more like a director than a writer, it looks like.
Right, okay. Yeah. It's crazy they got this second season out. Do you reckon because it's all LED shot in one room, they've been able to smash it all out?
They were also
or whatever,
right into they were, I think, like shooting season 2 while season 1 was coming out.
Oh.
Because I remember seeing a set photo from season 2 as it was airing. Really? Jon Favreau tweeted out, yeah, for sure, 100% sure that happened. And I remember being like, oh, they've rolled the dice here, and the greenlit another production because I think they knew they had something pretty good, and they've bet correct here because it blew up, and it's good that they got straight into it. And apparently they're well into pre-production for another season too. So.
Oh wow!
By all accounts, hearing from Moff Gideon actor, I think he said that they've plotted a lot of stuff out for I think 4 or 5 season arc is what the the intention
you can't possibly be telling me Disney has learnt some kind of mistake from the sequels. There's no way. I don't believe they've learnt anything. But that would be amazing if they've actually planned this out so it's gonna work. That would be. And hearing that they've made season 2 before everyone's proper reacted, fuck yeah. That means we're not going to get too much Baby Yoda, and he's not. Who's to say?
But it's not because they didn't have a plan, because they did have a plan, and they wrote 3 films that each connected with the last one and told a cohesive story, and then they threw the last chapter out, rewrote it, and went back on what they were doing. The problem is that they threw their plan away. Not that they didn't have... The plan was there. It was...
It's not that they didn't have a plan. Their plan was fine. Everyone bitched about Luke and Last Jedi, and they freaked out for some insane reason. If they'd made all of these, they'd Matrixed to Lord of the Rings this and done 2 and 3, Pirates of the Caribbean style, 2 and 3 together, we would have just got Colin Trevorrow's Rise, and they would have been like, oh no, what have we done? But we would have been too late.
If Trevorrow got to do his Duel of the Fates film, then it would have been consistent all the way through, because they wouldn't...
Yeah, it would have been sick,
Well, more importantly, they wouldn't have had time to react to what the audience were demanding, which is ultimately what went wrong. Yeah? They started listening to the audience. Yeah. What happened was, JJ made Force Awakens, and then Rian Johnson is running right behind him. So by the time Force Awakens is being released, Rian Johnson's in the middle of his production.
They've already paid for the big monster that he drinks milk out of. They're not getting that. It's not getting cut now.
No, they started shooting it before Force Awakens came out. They
started shooting.
They started shooting.
God.
They were on Act
Madness.
The island of Act 2 in Island that Skellig Michael. They were shooting weeks before Episode 7 came out, and then they were shooting after Episode 7 came out. I know that there were rewrites done on Episode 8. I'm not saying Episode 8 is exactly what it was. There was some course correction. I think they were going to focus more on the original trilogy characters, and then deviated to focus more on the new characters.
Right.
So who knows what they... But look, every single one of these films was rewritten, reshot, rejigged, re-edited, all the re's. Every re you can think of, all of these movies underwent at every point in time. And the funniest part is that The Last Jedi is the closest thing to just like a pure Star Wars film where nothing went wrong and nothing was reshot and nothing fucked up. It's actually the one that like...
It's so weird to think, yeah.
Yeah, like...
It's the one that burnt it all down.
Every other movie underwent extensive rewrites, reshoots, whatever. Like, the first one was a complete mess. Actually, Empire was not that too. Empire and Last Jedi, the only two that were not completely remade and redone and rewritten. Like, even Episode 1, like, the whole third act was changed. Episode 2 was, like, lots and lots of reshoots. Episode 3 was almost completely different. 7 was completely reshot. Characters were moved around. Kira became Rey, you know?
Yeah, wild stuff.
That's what Star Wars is. It's just people scrambling to put a movie together. Do you have any...
Isn't that all movies in the end, though, isn't it?
Yes, and that's exactly it. And that's what it is.
This is just with more things that...
You can't create a trilogy. You can only create one movie at a time. And that's, I think, what the Marvel guys and the MCU guys got really good at was like, all right, we're not worrying about the 3 movies. We're just worrying about the next one.
And sometimes they can be kind of inconsistent, but in a good way. Like the 3 Captain America movies that's a weird trilogy, but you know what? It's 3 fucking sick films, especially 2 and 3, especially 2. But all of them are like really great standalone movies, and then they work in a narrative, and then they work in the overall narrative. But they've just mostly just good movies you can just put on. I remember I showed someone Winter Soldier as their first Marvel movie, and they were like, "That was so good. This is what Marvel is." I'm like, not all of them.
Yeah.
But some of them, I was just like, Civil War. Watch Civil War and don't worry about any others.
Do you have any more to say about the Mandalorian?
Not really.
We're all Mandalorianed out.
Not really, but yeah, like, you know, I'm so goddamn keen for the second season, but some elements I'm sure will just kind of be like, oh, I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I'm mostly very, very excited. It should hopefully be fucking wild stuff. I don't know. I can't imagine it, you know. Hopefully it doesn't shit the bed yet, at least. If it's going to get it's going to get all Rogue One up in this shit. Like, at least give me one more season before it shits the bed, yeah.
I think at the very worst it'll just be kind of more of the same and maybe not quite live up to some expectations we might have had. And
that's actually, it might not be as bold as we think it might be. And that might be its issue. It doesn't be as bold, and it's like it only shows Ahsoka for 2 seconds or something. Who's to say? I've kind of got a fear of the opposite of that, but that would be interesting if that's the issue of the season, that it's just not as good, yeah. Rather than maybe trying to have too much cake at once or whatever that saying is.
Having your cake and eat it too.
Yeah. Or as people in the Star Wars universe would say, having your baby Yoda and eating it too. Because there is an outrageous amount of talk about people being like, what's the baby Yoda for? And they're like, I think he wants to eat it or something. Like 4 times people are like, I think they want to eat it or something. And I was like, what? What are people going to eat? Is a baby? Pretty funny though. I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I think I've said all my Mandalorian things.
Yeah, same. Look, it's light, fun. It's pretty well made. It's there's a lot of prospects for the future.
It looks goddamn beautiful.
It really does, yeah.
You know, if nothing, it's a beautiful, beautiful show to look at. It's a marvel of new technology.
All right, let's leave it there.
Yeah, that was the way, or whatever. I don't know. You say something funnier. Or funny, I should say.
Spoiler Talk is produced by KCBN Studios and Space Kraken Media.